Hello and welcome to the Beard Pub podcast. I'm Sam from Beardology and I'm here with Adam. You may know him from his channel formerly known as The Beard Solution, and Cemmos from Beard Profile. Adam, where have you been? A lot of people over at the Minox Beard Spot been asking for you.
I've been married, working very long hours, and taking a vacation from minoxidil-based subjects until more recently.
Also not in the group, right?
Yeah, I left the group quite a while ago.
So you kind of missed out on a lot of the drama that's been happening there lately. Been having to get that info basically secondhand from me and Bryan.
Yeah, it's definitely been a bit strange. It's been like an outside observer to something that I was obviously heavily invested in terms of time-wise and effort-wise previously. So it's definitely been weird to see what's unfolded.
Yeah, which is funny that you mentioned effort because if people don't know, that group was sold. And Basic, he's the guy that founded the group. He originally created it as some kind of brotherhood, and he ended up selling it to some guy that runs a derma roller company. And pretty much for the past couple of years, he really didn't do much for the group at all. Yeah,
not at all. He was not even part of our group chat and Messenger that we had for the admins. He's been pretty absent even from just talking to us.
Yeah.
Like not even just his activity in the group itself, but even just communicating with the people that are running it. But even me, I was there when it was all going down, but I'm sure even Bryan saw more than me because there was a group chat that Basic created for the new owner to communicate with the admins, and I left that before Bryan even did. So
yeah,
there's probably some stuff I missed out on.
Became a bit of a shit fest because I probably don't really want to get into the specifics of it really. It's just
shocking.
What's that?
I think the shocking part of it really was the fact that, as you said previously, it was made as a brotherhood and it was made as kind of a place for us to share information. I mean, Basic always called it a brotherhood anyway, but a place to actually share accurate information and not to have that kind of financial interest in the group as a kind of a motivating factor. Because of how we've been looked at on YouTube and across other platforms because of this particular topic. It's just looks so bad on on Basic was one of these people that looks like he's really founded that kind of movement, right? So it just reflects badly on everyone. Just makes us all look complicit in an adventure just to make money or whatever, rather than the purer kind of thing that I think it was intentionally meant to represent.
Which people have argued before that we were shills, making money from saying that minoxidil can grow you a better beard, which obviously is not true. That we were shills.
Yeah, that was probably one of the major things people would try to scrutinize us about is they would always any way that we could possibly make money from the subject, people would be like, oh, they're just in it to make the money. Even monetizing the videos that we make and making dollars off of thousands of views. People were like, oh, you guys are just in it to make money off of the YouTube videos that you're making. And it's dude, if you knew how little those videos made, you wouldn't even be making this comment right now because it's ridiculous.
It literally can't even afford my coffee. I make that little on YouTube, and that wasn't even the purpose of making a YouTube channel. It wasn't to make money. It was just to kind of spread awareness. Kind of honestly, the way that Basic initially started his channel was he wanted to share his journey with minoxidil to show people if it grew him a beard, because he didn't know at the time that it would, and he thought it would, and he was right. And that's why he initially created his channel before he made the group. And that's the same reason I made mine later on, but I made mine after I knew that it would work for me, because I also knew that I wanted to talk about more than just minoxidil beard growth. I wanted to talk about beards in general.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I made my first video when I was already like 5 or 6 months into it. So I didn't even have, like, Adam started like at the beginning, so he documented his progress from like the very beginning. But by the time I started, yeah, by the time I started, I had to like make a video real quick, being like, hey, here's what's happened for the last 5 months.
Yeah, I actually remember before you started your channel, you were a bit nervous about starting it, given the fact you hadn't started from the very, very beginning, right, of your journey, because it's kind of, it's more difficult, I think, at that point to like go, oh, here's like what it was like before, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that there's a lot of evidence out there now that for most people, I think it's just an accepted thing a lot more that, oh yeah, it does help. But now people just say other things like, but you shouldn't use it.
Yeah, it's not natural.
Whatever reason.
It's like steroids.
What I love the most is...
It's the fake tits of beards.
Yeah. Or they go, it's chemicals. And it's like everything is chemicals.
Yeah, everything is a chemical. Like,
your beard is a chemical.
That's just crazy. And like people use it for balding, right? Nobody tells them that it's wrong to use it to combat their balding. So why is it wrong to use it for beard growth, but it's not wrong to combat your balding?
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is like a lot of the men with like naturally like really thick full beards are balding because the reason they have big thick beards is because they have a high sensitivity to like DHT. So they have like these thick beards and all this body hair, but they're losing their hair on their head. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them that are bitching about us using Minox for our beards are probably using it on their head. I know that some of them are, because we've had people come into our new group that were naturally bearded and use it for their scalp.
Yeah, I think it as well goes back just what we were saying before about the shill stuff. Just to go back to that, I think one of the really frustrating parts I always found with that kind of narrative that got pushed on us was that, you know, I always had to give a similar kind of explanation of like, well, I'm not representing a brand and there's not some weird like minoxidil cartel that is paying me. Like, I'm not asking you guys to buy anything from me. Like, I'm not selling minoxidil. Mm-hmm. Although there are times when I look back now and I think, like, if I was doing this for the money, I would have set up a business to sell minoxidil, because there's obviously people that did end up doing that, like, and did generally quite well in the community. I can only imagine how much money they actually made. But
yeah, and the funny thing is,
for me was,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go on.
No, but I was saying, like, the funny thing is, like, a lot of people, like we were discussing earlier, a lot of people take the information and like stuff that we put into our videos and into our content. They take that and they go off and make successful businesses out of that information. Like you were saying with the LCLT thing, there's people that sell that now for beard growth, and nobody ever calls them out, and they're literally doing what people are accusing us of doing.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I must have boosted the economies of many like southeastern like Asian markets. Like the amount of like people that have contacted me since from like that kind of geographical location that have said about people like selling LCLT is like, there's genuine businesses out there now just selling that kind of stuff for beards, like to add into your stuff. It's crazy, and that's based off of just 2 videos that I made. You know, and I'm like, well, I could have made an LCLT business, but I don't really like have the time nor the energy. Like, it was, for me, it was always, I got the enjoyment out of being able to actually genuinely help other people. Like, there are times, although rarely, I'll admit, there are some times where you get really nice comments that are like, oh, you really helped me, like, in my journey, like, it really inspired me or whatever. I also get a lot of, you're a shill and you're a cunt. That's a lot of the fun ones that I get a lot. So
yeah, if they used any kind of logic, like even just a little bit of logic, they would realize that you can't really shill for something unless it's a specific brand or product. But we have never said you should buy this from this company or buy this from this store. We never have said anything like that. We just generalize. It's minoxidil. Minoxidil is not a brand. It's, you know, it's something that many different brands create or use in their products. But it's, to be a shill, you gotta be representing somebody, not something. Like, oh, I love basketball. Oh, you're an NBA shill. Like, what? That makes no sense.
Because minoxidil itself isn't a company; it's a drug.
Yeah.
What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, like, I think it's funny that when like you when you look back at like what's happened now with the Minox beard spot being sold and people are now looking towards Basic as being a bit of a shill, like I really like Basic, but there were always slight warning signs there. Like I remember in the group there were so many times when he was trying to advertise like this weird pirating cable type thing that he was selling that was like a subscription, and he was trying to get members to sign up.
Yeah,
and it was so random, and it was just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this place isn't for us to be like trying to just like make money off of these random, like sign up to this random link, guys. Like, make me commission off of you buying into this like subscription for pirated TV shows.
And that was kind of his assumption about our things as well, like Beard Profile, our YouTube channels, things like that. He assumed that the group was helping our endeavors. I won't even call them businesses because mine's not a business, it's just a website. And he thinks that it was providing traffic for us, but it actually was the opposite. Our things like our YouTube channels, our websites, those drove traffic to the group. So it was, we actually did not really benefit that much from the group, except for maybe like in the beginning, like when they first
like it helped
started.
us build traction at first, but then once we started getting attention to our content, it flipped around, it reversed into the other direction where our content was driving traffic to the group rather than the group driving traffic to our content.
Yeah. So it was like kind of mutually beneficial, but in a way we kind of helped the group more than the group helped us in a sense.
Right.
Yeah, I think there was definitely times like early on in my YouTube kind of experiences where being in the group definitely helped grow my channel because there was a set group of very interested people in that niche. But I think that, as you mentioned, like as we started to grow much larger, then it was really like our channels that funneled people in, because often in the group it did get to a point where people didn't really know who Basic was, because a lot of his videos were quite old compared to like the more up-to-date and current people. Like even now, right, there's like people that I think there's like the guy who goes by, I think it's like Lusky Beard Bro or something. He's become like really popular now, like as well on like YouTube. And there's like obviously a more kind of, I guess, like newer generation in quotation marks of like minoxidil YouTubers that other people will recognize like now. As like I'll see them in the group like, oh, I've seen you on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, like it's funny because I remember people would say stuff like that to me, and I still get it occasionally now, but it's funny.
Yeah, that's true. Like there's like it's like a new generation of like Minox influencers. Like I don't know if I want to use the word influencer, but
it's strange as well. Like I actually had one experience that I made. I think I've told you guys about before, where I was in like central London having a beer with my friend, and some guy came over to me and he went, "Excuse me, are you the beard solution on YouTube?" And I was like, "Yes." It was just so random in the middle of like thingy. And then there's people looking around at us, and the guy was like, "Oh, can I get like a photo with you?" And I was like, "Okay, this is really weird." Then he was just asking me loads of questions about minoxidil, which I sat and like answered like all of his questions and stuff. My friend was just like sat there like mouth agape afterwards. He's like, "This is the funniest story. Like I'm just going to be able to just tell people now. Like we just sat, just random dude just approaching me in the middle of the street." And then I've had comments on my YouTube as well. Well, I've had comments on my YouTube as well, like, "Were you outside the Pizza Hut on this particular road on a day?" And I'm like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, yes. So that it is a bit strange, but I guess
that's crazy because like we don't even like in the like large, I don't know, I'm bad with phrasing things, but like in the large like scope of things, we're not even really that like big on YouTube. Like we have thousands of subs, but like compared to like the like actual like big YouTubers with like millions of subs, like you wouldn't think that would happen with somebody that has like less than like 20,000 subs. It's
especially when you consider that minoxidil for beard growth, it has started becoming a lot more popular these days, but it's still niche. It's still its own little niche. It's not something that's very well known even to this day.
Yeah, I think the only other time that I think I got recognized from it was because of the articles that a couple of the newspapers put out here last year. And then a couple of people when I was back home in my hometown like recognized me from those articles because obviously it had done the rounds back home. But even then in a lot of those like articles, they still would speak to typically the kinds of people that are most invested in trying to stop people using minoxidil for the beard, right? The beard transplant people that want to make money that like from surgery. So they're always going to say that it doesn't work. And I even explained this to a few people that were interviewing me at the time. Was like, you need to speak to like a trichologist, like somebody that's actually like studies hair, like not like and dermatology, not like these like hair transplant surgeons, because they're obviously just going to tell you
get a transplant.
Get a transplant. Like, which I was before I found out about minoxidil, I was considering at one point. Like, I did get to a point where I was like, it's the only way I can think of that I'll ever be able to grow a beard. And then it just so happened that I came across Spanish beard stuff. That's how I got into minoxidil. And I thought this guy did seem like a bit of a snake oil salesman. So I was like, this has got to be too good to be true.
That's funny because that's exactly how my intro was to it as well. Well, I mean, as far as like where it became a serious thing, because there was like years ago, like even like maybe like 5 years before I even started using minoxidil, I did look into it. But the only thing I found at the time were a few like forum threads where everybody was basically like, oh yeah, it works, but you're gonna grow a unibrow, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. So I kind of stayed away from it for a while. But then like as I got older and I started getting facial hair and it wasn't really coming in that great, and I had like a patchy thin beard for years, I was like, all right, let me check this out again, see what's going on. And I came across Spanish Beard's videos too, and at first I was mostly just like interested in the stuff that he had to say, but then quickly I was like, yeah, this guy, like the stuff he's saying makes sense, but a lot of it just sounds like he's really trying to be overly charismatic so that he can gain my trust and try to sell me something. And that was before I even knew he was selling beard powder.
Yeah.
I was like, something about this guy doesn't this guy doesn't sit right with me. Like, I get what he's saying, but some of this stuff just sounds like he's trying to sell me something.
He did just have that stereotypical kind of like marketing guy. He's had like a SpongeBob high-pitched voice, like basically just screaming at you to buy beard powder. And like,
which is a bit ironic. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, he tried to say, I was going to say that one video that estrogen makes your beard grow.
Oh, yes.
A particular favorite of mine.
Yeah, because he literally contradicted himself 1 minute later. He was like, oh, estrogen will make your beard grow thicker. And then later he was literally like, oh, estrogen's bad for your beard. Testosterone's what makes you. It's like, you just there are people that just, I don't know what the right term is for, but they were like basically simping for Spanish beard. They didn't care what he said. They're like, this guy's right, and you guys are all just haters and hate him. That's why you're against him. But like, there was a video where it's like he literally contradicted himself like 2 or 3 times in like 1 or 2 minutes, and you guys still just believe everything that he says and don't question anything at all. And anytime anybody questions him, you guys are like, you're a shill. It's like, hey, what?
There were some things that he got from our group as well, like derma rolling. He didn't have anything about derma rolling on his channel until after it had started becoming big in our group, because Soros, I believe, was the first one to bring it up, because he shared the clinical trial for the scalp and how it significantly grew more hair. And Spanish Beard did not have anything about derma rolling until after we had done that, and after we've already written our own articles about derma rolling and had our own videos about it.
The crazy thing is he's straight up deleted his channel now, so I don't think that anybody who's getting into minoxidil anymore will even know who he is unless they find some of our old videos mentioning him. But no one's going to find any of his stuff.
And that's how I found out about the Minox beard spot. Was I actually, after watching a few of Spanish Beard's videos, I came across Ken's video where he was calling him out for conning people.
Yeah, that's how I found about the Minox beard spot as well.
And I don't...
Really? Oh, you guys came after that? I thought you guys were there before that. That's interesting.
No, I joined the group.
I don't even think in that video...
members, I think. I was around then.
Yeah, I don't remember how many members were in there at the time. I think it was probably close to It was somewhere around 5,000 or something. I don't know.
I thought you guys had joined before Ken for a while, but I do remember you saying that Ken was the one that got you to know about the group.
Which is odd because I'd already watched Basics videos.
I think in that video,
I'd already seen Basics videos before I saw Ken's, but I never really, because I think he create the spot after he'd done his journey. I think it was afterwards, right?
No, he did it during, like, Basic started, I think, about a month before I started, and he had done videos when he started. I didn't run into his videos until after I had started, because once I started doing it, that's when I started looking up on YouTube if anyone else was doing it, and that's how I found out about the group. Sometime like the next month after I had started.
Yeah, I don't think I saw any of Basics videos until after I joined the group.
I mean, that's one thing I will say is that I think
he made the group like 2 months after he started.
I think Basic has one of the most convincing journeys on YouTube. I will give him credit for that. Like from his early videos, like he had obviously quite dramatic progress. I saw some decent progress, but I think when you look at how much Basic's coverage changed, like very noticeably on video as well, like over that first year, it's quite undeniable when he starts to hit around 3 months. You know, it is a really good kind of endorsement, I guess, for that it actually does work. It definitely convinced me.
Yeah. And a lot of people still don't believe it, though. Like, even with all of the proof from everybody else, everybody posting progress pictures, the science behind it, now that we actually started delving into that, people still don't believe that it works, which is like, it's silly. Like, you're just completely being ignorant.
Well, I had a
That's something that I always found really funny with Adam's channel in particular, where I would always see people commenting on his videos being like, oh, you guys are a shill, this stuff doesn't work. And it's like, you're completely ignoring his like hundreds of videos where he documented weekly
I still
progress.
get now, like, I get comments. I got one the other day telling me that I was lying and I was a fake and a fraud. And then he sent me a link to an article talking about that, the clinical trial that was done in like 2015 or 2016 or something. And then I was like, yeah, like he goes, that there was like no change. I was like, no, you haven't read the actual article. It says there was a significant difference in like baseline hair count. So that literally shows compared to the placebo, like there was a significant difference. Like it's pretty clear that it works. But even the articles sometimes that they share that they think are supporting them saying it doesn't work are not saying that. They just can't read.
Yeah.
They just can't like properly read what is written.
Yeah.
And it's and that can be understandable because a lot of those studies are kind of difficult to like interpret. Like I think there's even been a few where we've misinterpreted them, and then later somebody would be like, "Yeah, that's not really what that said."
Yeah,
like, oh shit! For the last like 2 years, we've been
the peppermint essential oil growing more hair in a sense, but technically it didn't grow more hair. It was just because they shaved the animals and the hair grew faster.
Well, I don't know though, because I don't know. I wish I had a link to it because it's. I don't know. I'm not really clear about what it says because it did say that it increased follicle count, but I don't know what that means. Like, you can't increase the number of follicles that you have. So what does it mean by increased follicle
active
count?
Follicles or something? I don't know.
But it's. I wish I could. I'm gonna see if I can find it really quick, but. Yeah, but another one was like the caffeine one. Like for years, we were telling people that caffeine was acted as a DHT blocker when you apply it topically. Yeah. But then when you ingest it, it boosts DHT. But then like a few months ago, I really looked into it and realized that it doesn't actually say anything
I remember you
about
saying
it.
About that. Yeah.
That's the thing DHT. With just believing people sometimes, because I'm pretty sure that info came from someone that had pretty solid science on other things. So once that person shared that information to us, we kind of just believed it because he was right about other things. Because
they were a credible source of information, usually. So we didn't think to question them when they said something like, "Oh yeah, well he always knows what he's talking about, so obviously he's right about."
I'm always amazed sometimes at like the ways that people do react though to like. So for example, I did a video talking about people taking oral minoxidil, right? So people were taking minoxidil tablets, which is a pretty powerful hypertensive, so probably not the best thing to be using like when there's an actual topical solution out there, which is why they've developed it, designed for like topical reasons. But people got really angry at me about that. And I think there are certain, I think it was more kind of scalp users, but there's definitely kind of sub-communities of minoxidil all over because there's so many different varieties now. Like there's obviously the old tablet form that people are still using. There's, you know, people even who we used to work with at the Minox Beards Party ended up actually making their own minoxidil companies out in like the Philippines and stuff. It has become a much more kind of globally recognized like a money draw, really, I think, in the past few years.
Which really only started happening because people started believing that it worked, because it does. And in a sense, we kind of, as admins and as people that have actually looked into minoxidil and have used it ourselves, we've kind of legitimized it in a sense. And that's kind of what's sad about the group being sold to someone that's in it just purely for money, is because that legitimacy kind of goes away in a sense. Because now he's been telling people pretty much anytime someone asks a question, he'll bring up something about a derma roller or to derma roll before applying minoxidil, which you absolutely should not be doing.
Or that shaving makes your beard thicker.
Yeah.
If I had still been in the group, then I would have been fucking out, like, straight away.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we get a lot of people, like with the sale recently and all the drama surrounding that. I've seen a lot of people that are like, I don't understand why you guys are so upset about this. Like, you guys are being overly dramatic, or you're being like emotional about it. And it's like, well, it's like maybe from an outsider's perspective, it's difficult to understand why we'd be so upset. But it's like that's kind of been our biggest battle this whole time as people trying to make content for like Minox Beards is our credibility. People always challenge our intentions, our motive, and why we're making content. Like we were talking about earlier, people would always call us shills and would think we were just in it to make money. And we've always been having a hard time like combating that like thought. And now all of that's kind of all the effort we've made trying to be like, no, we're not in it for the money. This is not in it for the money. We're just trying to spread information, let everybody else know. Mm-hmm. All this stuff has just been kind of like thrown away because somebody went and took that and used it just to make money.
Yeah, and that's kind of part of it as well, right? Like they another person buying the group kind of does reflect on us, and that's kind of why we went around telling people that we weren't part of that. We didn't get any money for it. We were banned from the group because of us speaking out against it. And that's the reason why we were sharing it across different social media websites, was because we didn't want people to just assume the things that they had already been assuming in the first place, that we're shills.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like even when we come out and tell people like, oh, we didn't make any money from that, like we had nothing to do with that. Then they come out and they're like, oh, well, you're just mad because you didn't get any money from it. And it's just like, no, you don't. You don't understand like the whole problem. We spent the last like 3-4 years creating content and trying to explain to people how we're not in it for the money, and now our credibility has been like dramatically what's the word, like I don't know, it's tarnished now because
it was affected.
Somebody went and sold the group to somebody.
I just love how some people reacted though. There was that one person who was like, well, it's not communist Russia or whatever, and it's like, well, this is a really bad advert for capitalism, sorry about that. Do all this hard work for basically free because you give a shit about what you think is like a community, you're building up something that's important, and then the person who's done basically no work for many years comes along and just sells it for such a small amount of money as well. I'm sure he could have made much more money from a group of that size. Like, it wasn't even a good business decision.
From what I understand,
and in my mind, he doesn't need to do that. Like I said to you guys previously, he's a really talented artist. He doesn't. He could sell his art, and he does. So there was no need for him to kind of sell the group. Like he could have just been like, do you know what? It's more important than $4,000 that we actually have a group that maintains what it's always meant to kind of be. But I guess if you've not actually been invested in that, because he wasn't, maybe it doesn't really matter.
and that kind of brings me to another point. Like it's similar, is like when you said he didn't have to do that. Like, yeah, that could be said about the guy who bought the group too. People are like, oh, he just wants to, like, his basic himself is even like, oh, he's just really interested in derm rolls. He just wants to spread information and let everybody know about it. It's like, he didn't have to buy the group to do that. He could have just become, he could have just become active in the group and just contributed and eventually, like, if he really if his main intentions were just to spread information and knowledge, he didn't have to pay $4,000 to buy the group to do that. He could have just become like a highly active contributing member of the group.
Well, he could have ended up becoming a moderator or admin if he was very active and knowledgeable as well.
He wouldn't have had to spend any money. So people who believe that the only reason he bought the group was to spread information obviously just don't want to look into it more than that.
I think
that doesn't make any sense.
It's just ridiculous to believe that. Like, you should not believe that. That makes zero sense. There's zero logical sense to buy a group for that much money to not make. We didn't buy the group. Back.
We didn't, like, none of us have ever put any money in toward, like, we didn't buy our admin position. We didn't do anything. Like, we didn't financially, like, we didn't buy our positions. Like, we just went out and spread the information that we knew, and people now come to us for information, and so that's stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Obviously, the reason he bought the group was the reasons that he's currently using it for, that people are still, like, even knowing what he's doing, people are like, oh, I don't see what the big deal is. It's like, what do you mean I don't know what the big deal is? His first move as the new owner of the group was to change one of the requirements for the group to providing your email address. And the people that weren't willing to provide their email address, he was reaching out to them personally through DMs and saying, hey, I need your email address. And if they said no, then he's like, well, then you can't get into the group, because that's the only way I'm letting you in is if you provide an email address. And I actually had somebody message me because they're like, hey, can you accept my invite? I'm trying to get in. Do I really have to provide an email address? I have this guy messaging me, asking me for my email address, and I don't want to do that. Yeah,
first thing he did, right?
Yeah, the very first thing. Like, it's like right after Basic was like, hey guys, the sale just went through. I sold it. Frank's the new owner now. And he immediately, like, not even like minutes later, was like, all right, and emails are required to get in. And he sent out a message to all the admins saying, like, hey guys, I don't want anybody else accepting new group new member applications. I want to be the only person so I can collect their data. And then he referred to them all as customers. And to me, that was like, I was like, all right, well, I'm done with this group now, because immediately everything that I was worried about has been confirmed.
I mean, seeing the screenshots afterwards, though, of like Basic trying to justify his actions, not his personal actions, but as Frank Sky's actions of like, he doesn't want to change things. He doesn't want to use all of you like pictures and all that kind of stuff.
But he's already done that.
That's another thing of like the Minoxidil community. We really were a community in the sense of if somebody's pictures got stolen or someone's footage was stolen for like a fake advert, like one of these like fake beard oils that often got advertised out there, or the beard supplements, we were the first people like really driving it forward, like, or calling it out, whether it be onto the group or whether it be on our YouTube channels, right? Like, but I think that like a lot of that stuff's going to kind of go now. I think you're going to see a lot more people who are recommending these really good growth oils that we all know won't work, but that will now become like seen as valuable, good, credible information because it's part of the Minox Beard Spot, which I must have mentioned hundreds of times in my videos, which will still push people now to that group on that basis. But the information
and even information from the new owner, like the stuff he's been spreading. And anybody who's challenged him, he's banned them from the group. Like, we have people in our new group that said that I think you mentioned it already, but he posted something about how you should dermarol before applying minoxidil, and another member in the group called him out, and he just straight up banned them, like, for questioning him. He's like, nah, don't tell them that. Get out of here. That's bad for my business.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
You have to buy a new dermarol every single time you want a dermarol, and it's like, okay, Mr. Dermarol salesman, thanks for that. Thanks for that advice. I think I'll just clean it.
He's like, oh, you could. Yeah, and he was like, oh, people aren't good at cleaning things. Like, that's funny because in the 4 years that I've been in their group, I've never seen anybody have an issue with the dermarol that they've been cleaning.
Nobody has had an issue with it.
like, yeah, they get dull after a while, and you should replace them maybe like every 3 months or so, just so you can have a fresh, sharp derma roller. But you don't have to replace it every time. Like, you could just clean it with alcohol.
Plus, he's selling those cheap pinwheel derma rollers, right? Instead of the ones with the real needles.
They have like triangular blades. They're just like wheels of blades.
Yeah, and that's the derma roller I used in the first time around. Like, and after you mentioned it, then I was like, I think I'm gonna get the 192 needle one now. Like,
yeah, it's something we didn't discover until later. Like, we had been derma rolling for a while before we ended up discovering that with some chick on YouTube. I don't recall her handle or anything, but some girl on YouTube clearly went through it, and that's kind of how the group discovered it.
She like broke derma rollers apart to show how they were made and show the difference between the fake ones and the real ones.
Video, actually.
And and that's another thing is he's already contradicting himself in the group too, because he, in one post I saw him comment saying like, oh, for sure I would always recommend using a 192 derma roller, but then in another comment somebody pointed out he said to use a 0.25 millimeter 540 needle roller, and that's completely contradicting what he previously said about using only 192. Doesn't make any sense. So he's saying like, oh, I've been using derma roller for the last 10 years and I've been doing all this research. It's like, yeah, but the research you've done has been about marketing it, not about how it should actually be used, especially not for what we're using it for.
Though, like the whole idea about is trying to keep the kind of financial interest out was to keep that kind of level of trustworthiness, right? So I remember like when Paul Lee, who went by Husky Beard for quite a while, was trying to get people to buy his beard growth serum he wanted to make so that they could try it out and act as a clinical trial, which is, by the way, not how clinical trials work. But he wanted to do that. And I remember like we challenged on him like quite a bit. Like, and there were so many times where he would, it's so funny when I remember Sam calling him out about his video where he was talking about his beard brush. And he was saying about, I was thinking maybe I'd get some of these printed up. Don't know if you guys would buy them. Let me know in the comments section. It is like...
Yeah, he's just trying to... Like, bruh, I could tell right away that the whole reason you're making this video is because you're trying to get a feel for if people would be willing to buy them or not. Like, and then he was like, yeah, you got me. It's like, dude, you're very transparent and not willingly. Like everybody with like half a brain can tell what you're trying to do.
And then didn't he like inflate his numbers in his shop so that he could sell it to some poor soul?
I think he's...
Yeah, like he had stuff on there that I saw on like AliExpress, stuff like that, and he was like, oh, it's the normal price of this is $80, but I'm only selling it for $20. And it's like, no, it's not normally $80. It's $20 everywhere on Amazon, eBay, and all that stuff. You bought it for like $3 on AliExpress.
And that's definitely illegal. You're not supposed to do that.
It was like a couple of years ago, like around Christmas time, when I went in to like see my wife's brother. Like he had some beard products on the table. He's got quite a majestic beard, and I was like, oh, what have you got? And no word of a lie, it was Husky Beard products. I nearly cried at that moment. I was like, why have you bought this? Why have you purchased it? This is like the worst thing I could like. Because, oh, do you want to see the new stuff I've bought? I'm like, yeah. And it's got Husky Beard on it. I'm like, oh no. I was like,
no. I cringe every time I see that logo now, because I designed that logo for him, and now I'm just like, why did I do this?
What have you done?
Why? No,
I see. I kind of like it.
Well, the new owner changed it a little bit and gave it some like weird, like creepy predator eyes.
Oh, did he?
But I don't know. It still looks pretty much the same, and every time I see it, I'm like, man, I hate this thing that I've made.
I think like Paul Lee's channel now is all about kind of like making money and stuff, I think, if I remember, or like business stuff. Like,
yeah, because that's always been his intentions too. Is before he even started making videos, before he created his channel, there was Reddit posts that he made where he was talking about his target audience being customers and stuff like that. And it's in referring to his YouTube channel as a business. It's always been a business to him, and there's been a few people that are like that, and I think we're all aware of one of them, Basic.
Yeah. I mean, of course there will be people that will say, well, I respect the hustle. And yeah, sure, you should respect people hustling and making money and providing for themselves, and if they have a family, but not in the way that these people are trying to hustle. Basically, by literally hustling other people.
Yeah, taking advantage of people.
Yeah.
And their insecurities. Like people are very insecure about the fact that they can't grow a beard, and they're trying everything that they can, and people are taking advantage of that to make money.
Yeah, there's a wrong and right way to go about it. Of course, everybody's morals are different, but it's pretty clear to see that theirs don't really align on the good side.
Yeah. And I've had people try to challenge me about my intentions too. They're like, "Oh, the only reason you're against DHT blockers is because you want to sell your beard products with no DHT blockers." And it's like, I was complaining about DHT blockers like 2 years before I ever started selling products, right? Did you think I really had a 2-year setup before I started? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's it doesn't make sense because there's all of these studies that back up what we say about DHT blockers. So it's like, it's one thing if maybe I was just making like baseless claims and then using that to sell products, but we've been making these claims about DHT blockers for years before we ever started like trying to sell products. And the thing is, like, the beard products were never, I think I said that in my video about the sale of the Minox beard spot, was like, my intentions when I started making beard products weren't to make money and take advantage of people. It was because I saw as an active member of the group how many people were like, "Oh man, I wish I could use a beard oil or a beard balm or something, but all of the commercially available ones have DHT blockers." And I was like, well, this kind of sucks. Like, all these people want to use they haven't been able to grow a beard their whole life. They're finally able to grow a beard, and they can't use any of these products marketed for beard growth, or not beard growth, but marketed for like grooming their beards.
I'm pretty sure
shit
as well you have videos on your channel around kind of making your own beard oils, right? So it's not like you're keeping it a secret from everyone how to.
Yeah, it's not a secret. Like, I've always told people, anytime people ask, I always tell them how to make their own beard products. I don't sit there and go like, "Oh, don't just buy my shit." And that's like, I don't ever recommend my products to people either. Like, there's always been people that, like, in the group, they're like, "Oh, any beard oils or moisturizers do you guys recommend?" I've never gone and be like, "Oh yeah, use my Beckwith's organic beard oil. Use that." That's never happened. Anytime there's been a comment like that, it's been other people who've used my products. They're like, "Oh, I use Sam's products." I never go and be like, "Oh, use my products."
The difference as well is that you're literally providing a service that people have wanted. Like, people have asked for this, and you're providing something that people want, whereas the other people we've mentioned are trying to skew information to sell things to people that don't need it, or it just doesn't
They're
work.
Creating a demand for it, a demand that didn't exist.
Yeah.
I just remember, like, my favorite part was where there was one video where, like, Paulie was like, "I did loads of research," and it was like almost like a camera angle shot over his shoulder, like scrolling and typing really quickly. Like, "I did so many hours of research. I was on the phone."
A shot of him on the phone, like, talking to somebody.
So you're saying
like,
it's
"Come on, guy.
gonna work?" And the guy's like, "Yes." He's like, "Okay." It's just like dramatic vlog style of like recording, like,
"I've done 400 hours of research," posts one post in the group, and literally 4 people are like, "Yeah, none of that's right, because we just did 2 minutes of reading the thing you posted, and none of that's in there. So apparently your 400 hours of research were pretty worthless if everybody can come in and find out that none of that's true in 2 minutes."
I remember he made in one of his videos, he kind of like was saying about how we were kind of trying to hold him down or something like that about his new products that he was trying to bring out. But I remember it was based off of some like apple juice type like extract thing that I think you found out would have been like
it was like an apple seed extract or something.
That was that didn't go anywhere.
He was like, I have hundreds of links to studies, and I was like, "Can you give me any of those?" And he never did. I was like, "Okay, you're gonna boast about the hundreds of studies you have backing up your claims, but you never provided any."
Well, it turned out in the end, like, didn't he?
And the few that he did were immediately
hire
debunked.
a chemist or something in the end who essentially told him, like, "Yeah, this isn't going to work," after they'd already like charged him that X amount of money. Like,
I mean, he said that, but was there ever any proof that he hired a chemist?
I doubt it. He probably just lied. I mean, if you're willing to lie about the other things, you're willing to lie about that too.
I could come in and be like, "Yeah, I hired a chemist to create the formulas for my beard oils, and they're super great, and you should definitely use them." Like, anybody can say anything like that. That doesn't mean that it happened. You need to provide evidence. If he would have recorded he could have made a video instead of recording himself typing and clicking on stuff and talking on the phone. He could have made a video where he had the chemist that he hired, and he was just like talking to him and having a discussion about everything. That would have given him so much more credibility. But he didn't do that as easy.
I think that would be.
Yeah. Plus, the ingredients are all just standard stuff you see in everybody else's beard oils. Just like a bunch of anti-androgens, things that will help on the scalp, which is where they're getting this, quote unquote research from, is scalp studies for people that are balding. But of course that doesn't work because we're not balding on our faces. We're trying to bring out the beard genetics. It's completely different mechanisms. The hair on your scalp is not fueled by testosterone and DHT. So it's, they're just completely different things. Hair is not hair.
Right. And there's a lot of people that don't understand that. And that's a big issue with all these products being sold, because a lot of the people that are selling these products don't even know that that's the case. They don't realize that, like, oh, this is good for the scalp.
Yeah.
So
I think there's definitely more people taking notice, though. I don't think I mentioned it previously, but like I had an interview for Chemistry World, which is like a magazine run by the Royal Society of like Chemistry here, I think, in the UK. And like they were asking about minoxidil for beard growth, and so I think there is more and more kind of precedent out there that it does work. But I think that the problem with that is, as you say, when you start then alongside that seeing all these other kind of anti-androgen, like androgenic kind of products, it's just going to start slowing down people's progress, and people don't even realize that because they might still see results but are wondering why their facial hair still isn't maturing at a rate they want it to. But then they'll be like, well, I still grew a beard and I was using DHT blockers, and it's like, it doesn't stop it.
Yeah, and our claims were never that using DHT blockers is going to completely halt your progress. And that's the thing, like, people seem to think that's what we're saying. They're like, oh, well, I use DHT blockers and I still have a beard. It's like, yeah, well, of course you do. We didn't say that wouldn't happen. We just said that it's counterproductive.
Yeah, imagine not using it. Maybe your beard would be even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly.
It would probably
maybe not, but possibly.
Exactly.
Based on at least the studies that we know of, and just valuable information that we can get a hold of. And people tend to just be completely ignorant about it, to the point where it's like you can prove something to someone without a shadow of a doubt, and they will still be like, well, no, I believe this because it's how I feel. Like, that's not how science works, man.
And people like to use their own anecdotal like evidence to counter actual studies and like science and shit. And they're just like, well, I've been using DHT blockers and I still have a beard. And it's like, yeah, you maybe could do that, but there's other people out there that are not even using DHT blockers and they're still struggling. Can you imagine if they were using DHT blockers on top of that? Not everybody's the same.
Yeah.
I know we've had a few members that mentioned that they were using pretty powerful DHT blockers and they weren't seeing progress for a long time until they actually stopped using them.
Yeah, I've seen several people in the group that have mentioned that they're using oral finasteride, which for people that don't know, it reduces the DHT levels in your system, pretty much, your production of it. And people have mentioned that they didn't see any beard progress with minoxidil on their face, using minoxidil, until they stopped using finasteride. So there are people where it does really affect them and their beard growth. It's just how much it affects each individual may vary because everyone's different.
Right. But the communities that we've been a part of have been people that are struggling to grow beards in the first place. Yeah. So obviously, if they're already struggling, why would you want to make it even more difficult for yourself by using things that have been proven to be counterproductive?
Yeah, that's a silly thing, right? Is like there will be a fully bearded guy using some DHT blocker in his beard just for styling it. And people will point to him and be like, well, look at his beard. He's using DHT blockers and he still has a beard. But that's not the point we're trying to make, especially the fact that you cannot grow a beard at all. Like you're not growing a beard, right? So why would you grow a beard using DHT blockers? Which is...
Yeah, you're definitely not him, so I don't know why you're comparing yourself to him. He has a big beard and you don't have a beard at all. So obviously there's differences in your bodies.
Yeah, obviously he has genetics. Just the androgen sensitivity, all that stuff that goes with being able to grow a beard naturally, and you don't. So why are you using something that will directly inhibit it? Not stop it, but possibly inhibit it. Because it's not like and every time I've asked someone can you point out the positives of using something like rosemary? And they never respond because they don't know if there are any positives, because there aren't. There are no positives to it.
I understand though, I think from like one
And things
perspective, like why they might feel the need to buy those kinds of products, right? Because they're probably things that when they've thought about having a beard, I'll be able to use all of these really great like beard oils, and I'll be able to try all these new balms and everything like that. And then you quickly realize that you can't, because as you mentioned before, there's most of them have anti-androgens in them, and therefore people either can't then buy them. So I think then people a lot of the time just will ignore the science completely, and just because they want to use those products, not because they care whether it will actually help them or hinder them. They just want to use those products, and so they'll block out any sort of criticism of using.
Yeah. And they see a bunch of other people using it. They want to get into the hype as well. Like, oh man, all these bearded guys are using this cool product. I want to use it.
Oh, and I was guilty. I remember back early in the days of like early Minox Beard Spot, there was this kind of Gru oil, I think it was called, like GRO or something like that, and everyone was buying it. And then like Sarosh like made like a little infographic that basically showed all the DHT blockers that it had in it, and everyone was just like, oh shit. And I'd be like slapping this stuff on my cheeks for like the first 2 weeks of my journey. Like, and I remember when I was doing Alma oil as well. And then I found out that was like a DHT blocker, and I'd been using it for like a month. And I was just like, great, yeah. And my progress did seem to stagnate during that time as well, funnily enough. So like, you know, I mean, that's only anecdotal too, but I definitely do think that slowed me down a little bit.
Are you talking about Do Grow?
That's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like almost entirely DHT blockers.
Yeah, which is great for your scalp. You know,
it is great for
if you're having problems with scalp
I remember
growth.
it smelled really nice.
But it's like an anti-beard oil.
I remember it smelled really nice. I ended up reusing the bottle for the first like peppermint. So if you watch like my first video where I did on like peppermint oil, where I made the beard oil, like I put it in that bottle that I had like rinsed out and like cleaned out, because I was like, I like the applicator type bottle. And then I realized how actually it was really just not a very good design at all to put on your face. Like, it's perfect, as you mentioned, for the scalp. It's literally designed as an applicator, right? But like on the face, it was always difficult.
And there are people that get mad when we say that things like that don't work. Like my first video for my channel was talking about Jamaican black castor oil and how there wasn't any evidence that it stimulated beard growth. Like it doesn't stimulate new growth. And I feel like a lot of people may have misinterpreted that video, but some of them were just actually angry at me for even implying that it wouldn't help them grow a better beard, because they're like, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been using it for years and it's working. And it's like, if you've been using it for years, why are you still using it? Shouldn't you already have a full beard by now? Where's the evidence that it works? Can you provide any, please?
Basically just aging and getting a better beard.
Yeah, none of them ever provide any evidence. Like I've seen a lot of people complain like, oh, it works, but I've never seen anybody actually show any proof that it does. And that's something people can't say about minoxidil, because there's literally thousands of people who've been documenting the progress.
Yeah, and it happens pretty rapidly in comparison to anything else. Like it happens within the first, say like 6 months-ish, you'll be able to see so much more hair growth.
Yeah. And I think one of the comments on that video, which is like my most disliked video, was somebody like, oh, there was actually a study that showed that it does work for hair growth. And then Adam, I think, commented on it, like, where's the study? And he never gave us the study. But then we did our own research and found a study, and it was basically just like, yeah, it's only going to help if your hair is damaged or is like thinning because of this enzyme that it inhibits or something. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that doesn't really apply to our situation.
I think the fact that we've all been off of minoxidil for quite a while now as well is quite useful indicator, as more evidence out there that the beard does stay. I mean, there was always basic, but having more people there now where that kind of shows. But I mean, for me, like as you guys know, we've discussed about me kind of doing the chest hair journey, which I've even mentioned on my channel before. But I put the idea off doing it for ages, because I was like, well, I've been off minoxidil for nearly 2 years. If I start using it on my chest, people are just going to go, well, your beard's only stayed because you're still using minoxidil. And it's like, but I didn't for like 2 years.
It's like
and
it's
it
been
stayed.
2 years.
But I know there will be people who are like, look at him, he's still using minoxidil. Proof. It's like...
Oh yeah, there's people always moving the goalpost, like constantly. They're just like, oh, well, you stopped for 2 years, but what if you
I
stopped
think that was also part of the problem with
they always
the
do.
YouTube channel, though, is that I felt at times my decisions on what I would try or what I would do were based upon like, could I justify it to like the audience, or could I like, I felt like you're in a much more of a kind of a position at that point that you have to be almost a good role model, right? Like you need to be consistent. You need to be able to like show your progress kind of semi regularly. I mean, I guess we don't really upload that much anymore, but I guess the pressure really sometimes to conform to like what people want to see, right? So if you, for example, you did start to use minoxidil again because you wanted to improve part of your beard or try improving it after a break, well, I don't know whether that would necessarily help, but I think that there's a pressure there not to, because, oh, well, if you start again, then you've admitted that it doesn't stay forever kind of thing. So I always find that a bit of a frustrating part about having the YouTube channel along with it. It's like you're almost expected to do a bit more stricter in your journey, or whether you want to try something new is always a bit more of a challenge.
Yeah. Because there has been times where I've considered using it again because I'm still not completely happy with my beard. There's things that I'd like to see if I could improve, like my mustache isn't really the best. I'd like to see if I could fill it in more, but I feel like if I start using it again, people are going to be like, oh, you started using it again, clearly. You need to use it because your beard would have fallen out. It's like, I've been off it for almost 2.5 years now and it hasn't fallen out.
The upside is that a lot of people use it now, like so many more than there used to be. And there are a lot more people to show that proof than just us. So if if you want to do that, it probably wouldn't be such a bad thing. You'll just get some of those stupid comments.
My thing about doing a chest hair journey is I'm like, I don't know if I really want to get my chest out again on YouTube, especially because I'm a bit fat. So I probably have to build it in some sort of fitness workout. And we all know how well my fitness workouts go on YouTube. So that's
you should though, man.
Destined for greatness.
You can show like the difference between both the hair and like the definition and size, you know. Start doing a lot of bench pressing and shit.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, you had the few videos that you did make were pretty good. Like I feel like if you would have kept that up, you would have gotten a lot of more like traffic to your channel than just what you get from like the Minox stuff.
Yeah, wider audience.
Yeah, which is always good to have because it's nice being able to go off topic.
But that's what I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's just trying to find the topics that I actually want to cover instead. It's funny enough, I actually have another YouTube channel now that's like I've not uploaded to for ages. I made like 3 videos on it. They were like whiteboard videos, and that's got like 600 subscribers. And I've just done nothing with it. Like, so I think,
which is not bad.
It's just trying to find the energy. I think to actually like set aside some time and figure out the topics. Obviously, we've built our audiences around. Well, me in particular, I've built my audience very much around minoxidil beards, and so I think I'm always going to struggle to break out of that niche. I don't think people are going to necessarily watch my videos that aren't related to that in the first instance. No. There'll be some people that will have some crossover interest. But
yeah, at first I think that's true. At first, like your current audience may not be that interested, but a lot of people from YouTube in general will see those videos and start watching them. So I do think that there's not such a it's not so bad to just branch out from what you were doing, especially if it means your channel's going to be active again, because there are a lot of people that would be interested in it, just maybe not a lot of your current audience. But your current audience is not getting any content anyway.
Yeah,
so.
That's because I think I've talked about every possible minoxidil topic now. I'm sure you guys are the same, and articles and it's hard to, without there being like a lot of new studies coming out very often, like it's kind of hard to stay on top of any new thing. Like you end up running out of topics or things to talk about.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to change my channel from just myself, like things that I'm interested in, like maybe boots, maybe fitness stuff, just things that I like, because at this point, there's not that much I want to talk about with beards, because my channel was never really focused on minoxidil beards, but just beards in general, which included minoxidil. And I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't really care to do any more beard content. I kind of just want to do my own thing and things that I'm interested in.
Yeah, which I think we should point out now. I mean, it's been we're already pretty far into this episode, but point out for people that are listening that this podcast isn't going to be strictly about beards either. So
Yeah. I mean, we may bring up beards like most of the time, maybe, but it might not be like the most prominent discussion within each podcast.
Yeah, and obviously this episode's pretty heavy with the beard content, but that's because we had a specific topic that we want to discuss, which just happened to be surrounding like a beard community and our experiences and everything with that the last like 4 or 5 years.
And for anyone that is listening and does have like ideas for beard content we can talk about, then just leave a comment. If this is on YouTube, I don't know if we're gonna have it on multiple platforms, but I know we're doing it on YouTube. But if you do have content that you think we should talk about in regards to beards, then just leave a comment, because I can't really think of too many topics that you can just discuss with beards. Like what are you really going to talk about? Like how to style a beard? That's more for a video, right? Like we're not doing videos.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it's kind of hard to go through like grooming when you're just listening to people.
I mean, we could talk about like people that have been in beard competitions, but we don't really watch that kind of stuff. We, like I don't even know what the beard competitions are called, but people do those competitions, right? Like styling.
That's why people were angry at us, right? Because that's why Gray Bailey or whatever is George Bruno got angry at us. He was like, well, if it's cheating, there should be drug testing for beard competition. Can you imagine people doing like minoxidil tests, like piss tests, like random drug tests? Sorry, guys. Check out if there's any knocks in your system.
And it's not like we're doing those things. We're not entering competitions.
None of us are trying.
Plus, like our beers that grew from minoxidil aren't really competition ready. Like they're not worthy. Not competition worthy.
There's people that have been struggling to grow beards for their whole lives. You think they're gonna be like, all right, and now I'm gonna enter a contest. Yeah. My beard is.
Like it just makes no sense. All it really is that we were people that could not grow beards before, and we can now grow at least somewhat respectable beards. That's all it is. It's not competition worthy type beards where like, oh, we're gonna blow these people out of the water like steroids. Like it's even comparing it to steroids makes zero sense, because that's not what it does.
Right.
Steroids makes you go past your genetic limit. Minoxidil just brings you basically to your facial hair limit.
Yeah, because a lot of people have the genetics to grow a beard, but those genetics.
I love the future. Like future of bearded YouTube is going to be like the fitness YouTube now. Like, is this guy natty or not? Is his beard natty or is it being enhanced? I'm looking at the photos. It looks enhanced.
Funny as like a meme.
He's got a bit of dry skin on his cheek. It's clearly using minoxidil. It's a clear sign. You zoom in.
That happens too. There's people that post stuff like that in the group all the time. You guys, you guys think he used minoxidil? Like, no, dude, he just grew a beard. What's wrong with you? You think everybody that grows a beard has to use
didn't they? For ages, they were like, it's like he probably just shaved all the time before. It's not like he's just like had it like it just appeared on his face. He just grew it like.
Yeah, and people will be like, well, you can't see the follicles. But if you shave properly, you're not going to see anything. It's just going to be skin.
Right.
Like, it seems like people in the group, for some reason, don't realize that you can shave and look like you can't grow a beard. You can.
Right.
You just need a very close shave.
Especially if you wax it. Because there's nothing there.
Yeah. Which sounds terrible. I don't know why anyone would do that.
It is terrible. Definitely bad for beard growth, that's for sure. Because that can...
Just traumatizing
unlike
your
DHT
face.
blockers, that can literally make your beard go away. Be like, all right, and my beard's gone because I waxed it too much and it won't grow back.
Probably throw some Minox on there, it'll kick back in though.
Derma roll it.
Because people, like Basic himself had laser surgery to remove his beard or what little he could grow. And, the minoxidil did still kick it back out.
I think it was just his mustache, wasn't it? He was just lasering his mustache.
Yeah.
And I think his mustache is one of his most notable part of his beard, I think.
So the part that he could only grow, he ended up lasering and then using Minox and it grew back into basically what
grew back better than it was before.
Even better.
That's the one that I love though, is when people always love to pull out the studies where they're like, this person used minoxidil at an extremely high dose for a very long time and they had bad things happen and therefore using minoxidil, bad. It's like, I might want to reread that slightly. Using an exceptionally high dose, over a prolonged period of time.
It's like, what? Somebody was abusing a drug and got bad side effects from it?
And
That's
it was
crazy.
literally one person, just a single person. So,
Yeah.
That's always been the bit like in my channel.
course
I
there are
always
gonna be
try to
things
point
like
out
that.
to people, right? It's like it's a drug. It's not a toy. Like there's going to be side effects. So don't be like putting on like 8 mil on your face every day because you think it's going to be really smart and making your beard grow more. Like you're just going to make yourself ill. Like don't do that. But
Right.
you know, it's crazy really because obviously some people have quite adverse reactions over small, quantities of minoxidil. Rare, but you know there are some people that do, and I think that there's other people that like are just putting stupid amounts on their face, and you just think like, I remember there was someone in the group in the early days that he genuinely had hypertrichosis everywhere. He was covered in hair. Like, and people were literally, even I would say, stop using it, like, or at least like reduce it all the way down. He had like literally hair on his forehead, like it was really bad. And it was like, well, obviously that's not your stereotypical kind of minoxidil use. We all get like a little bit of extra hair here and there, but like he was obviously had very adverse reactions because he was using too much and wouldn't listen to the group who were basically saying, stop using that much. It's really does not look healthy. Like it was the biggest monobrow I've ever seen though. It was impressive.
There was a guy a couple of years ago, or it might have not even been that long ago, that was like he was using like 2 cans a month or something like that, and he was like, he like truly believed that using more than he was supposed to was giving him better progress. But then he posted progress pictures. I'm like, yeah, how long have you been using it? He's like, I've been using it for 4 months. I'm like, yeah, that looks about what you would expect from 4 months of minoxidil. I don't think you're just wasting minoxidil, my dude.
Definitely a waste because there's only so much your body can metabolize, so much your skin can absorb. Like at a certain point, there's no point in adding more. Like people just don't understand that, and there are clinical trials that prove that. Yes, they're for the scalp, but they still prove that at a certain point, it's not any more helpful. It just brings out more side
diminishing
effects.
returns, right?
Yeah, and the people will be like, oh, I don't have any side effects, so it's fine. It's like, is it fine though? Just because you're not experiencing side effects doesn't mean that it's okay to do that. You are not benefiting from it. Just like that's with
they always try
derma
to make out as though like that's almost like an optional thing though, right? With like on the side of the can it will say don't use it more than twice a day, and people will go, well, you know, they're just saying that, and it's like, yeah, but it's also in that company's best interest that you use more of the product so that you'll buy more of it. So if they can get you to use a higher dose, they would have told you to use a higher dose. They're telling you 2 mil for a reason, right? So you don't get all the adverse side effects.
Yeah, because they could have just told you
based on legally having to tell people that because it was in clinical trials that proved those things.
Yeah, and if you could benefit from using more, they would definitely tell you to use more because that means you're using their product up faster and they're going to be able to sell more to you.
But it also just reflects badly,
honestly,
right? Like it makes people who use minoxidil look like for the beard look irresponsible, and it becomes harder actually to spread the message when you have people who are out there using like 5 mil a day or whatever, and it's like that's really unnecessary. But there were points in the group where those people might become quite prominent voices, and other people were following their lead on that kind of stuff. But people were reporting bad side effects from using too much minoxidil, and it almost feels like you're almost like having to do a "I told you so" moment a lot of the time, because you're trying to. I always try to err on the side of caution a little bit and be as sensible as possible. So even using something like minoxidil, I did quite a bit of reading before I just started putting it right on my face. But some people, I think, will like start applying it and then become shocked that there's side effects. And it's like, did you not check about minoxidil before you used it? Like, it's not a drug. Like,
yeah. You think you do a little bit of research before you just start slapping a drug on your face?
Yeah. Or at least read the instructions as well. Because, yes, it's about the scalp again, but there are a lot of things in the instructions that are just it's reliable information to use, even if it's pertaining to your face instead.
That's one of the other things
But like people don't seem to realize, like, because they'll ask the most simple questions, like, oh, how much of X should I use? And it's like, well, just read the instructions. Like, you should have read it because it's a drug in the first place, and you're trying to be careful with it.
Well,
be responsible.
That's why I never understood why people say minoxidil doesn't work, because one of the side effects on the bottle is unwanted facial hair growth. And so when people go, it doesn't work for facial hair, and it's like, it's kind of one of the side effects. Sorry about that.
Yeah, literally it's a side effect. And they discovered it like 40 years ago that it was a side effect. Just
even its main intention was originally just a side effect, like growing hair on your scalp. That's not what it was for originally. It was for like high blood pressure or something, wasn't it? Right?
It was for blood pressure, and they discovered that it regrew hair for people that were balding. So it's like, shit, let's try that, and let's do trials for that, and that's how it ended up becoming a thing for you.
It was before that. It was even it was like actually originally for like an ulcer treatment. They were testing it in dogs, and then like they found like the heart stuff from that, and then it moved more into the scalp, right? As that kind of, I think Lonatan was like the tablet version, wasn't it, or something like that? And then Regain came out with, or Rogaine, I guess it is in the US, right? Came out with topical minoxidil. But it is crazy to see the journey like that that drug's now taken, obviously with more people using it off label now for like beard use. But it's funny, the people that use it for the scalp will often not so much now, but like there was a lot of people initially who would be like, well, it's not designed for the beard, you shouldn't be using it there. And it's like, you're using it on a receding hairline, my friend, and it's only really approved for crown or balding, isn't it? Like, so for it's like
for the vertex.
only. So I think you're
it explicitly says that.
I don't think you used it properly.
For that originally.
So it's just changed.
But it's like people ask like, oh well, if it works on the beard, then why aren't they selling it for that? It's like, well, it's not FDA approved to use on the beard. They'd have to have like studies done specifically for facial hair in order to get it FDA approved, and it's no longer it's not proprietary, right? It's
at first it used to be proprietary to the Johnson & Johnson company, but now pretty much any drug company can produce
make
it
minoxidil
or have it produced for them.
And as well, like that,
usually
you
when
you never really need to even make a beard version though, right? Because we already know that it works just buying normal minoxidil for the scalp. Maybe they could improve it.
People are already using it.
I think
just which company would want to spend that much money, which I don't know the exact amount, but I imagine it would be in the millions to be able to do a trial like that, to do a couple of trials. And which company would be willing to do that? Plus, once those trials are done and let's say that they do approve it, okay, it's safe to use on the face, then every other company will be able to sell it that way too.
So they'd be spending all this money to have studies done basically to benefit not just themselves, but all their competitors.
Yeah. And in a sense, is it really benefiting them because people are already buying it for beard use?
Exactly. So there's no real reason for them to do that. Like, why would they go through all that trouble to spend all that money to have these studies done to get it FDA approved for the beard when people are already doing that? People are already using it for the beard.
Although admittedly, it would be nice if they did. It would be cool, because then we could get people to actually stop being ignorant about it and say, hey, hey, here's definitive proof. Even though there is that one trial that was already done with the
I love
minoxidil lotion.
That's my favorite thing. When anyone is ever like, there's no scientific evidence, I'm just like, it's just like slapping your dick on the table. It's just like, boom, here it is. Take a look.
Just flopping it on there.
But yeah, that study is like, well, I mean, I not study a clinical trial, like that is always quite useful to be able to point to, just because it does clearly show that there is a significant difference. I mean, it was only, I think, over a short period of time, right? Like 3 months. Like they didn't continue it for like a long period. It would have been interesting for them to
that sounds
follow it on. I think that it's funny when I like try to talk to people before about why the gains kind of stay, right? And we've tried to explain this many times. I think that, as you mentioned before, people think hair is hair, right? So when you try to explain like DHT is good for the beard, I've even spoken to people who dermatologists, like who people I know through my like wife, of like who just don't when I'm trying to say like about DHT and stuff, they're just like completely oblivious to the effect of that on like beard hair or anything like that. Although I think some of the studies are,
because nobody really studies androgenic hair, right? People don't really put the effort into it. It's only about scalp hair because that's what people prefer.
It's getting out there now though, because I was at like CVS or something the other day, and I saw a couple guys checking out beard products there, and they were talking about them, and I went up and talked about. I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to these guys because they're talking about beard. So I went up and started talking to them about like my products, and I was like, you guys know about DHT blockers, right? And the guy's like, oh yeah, I know all about DHT blockers. So
nice.
There are people that are actually like, it's getting around now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
people are starting to
no small part thanks to us, not to
But I guess
toot our own
there's also
horns
people
here,
who probably
but-
know about them because if they use them for the scalp, right? I think a lot of people do use kind of a lot of oils and stuff on top of their heads along with minoxidil. But I guess that there's always the people that are particularly interested in beards probably learning a lot more about from Sam's list, right? I guess, Sam, like your infamous list that's stood the test of time now. Like, it's color-coded.
Oh, man.
It's beautiful. It's a work of art.
Funny things about that list.
When they-
People, recently somebody tried to use my own list against me, and I was like, you know who made that list? Like, can you look up at the top of that article, please, and check the name?
Me.
Like, I think you might be misinterpreting my list there, guy.
I remember that was being able to like find studies to add, because we as well, like a lot of that was what people didn't realize was the amount of actual research that went into that, right? Like I remember sending you the one study on almond oil. I think that's the only one I ever sent you. Was that when after I found out, I was like, this is to add to your list. You've made the list. Congratulations, almond oil or amla or whatever it's called.
I've put so much fucking effort. It's because it's hard enough to just identify DHT blockers, but then you have to find data that breaks down like their chemical structure and shows like how much of certain like oleic acid and linoleic acid, like what the percentage is.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just be like, here's a list with no evidence. Just take my
word for it.
Just believe me.
That's why I did.
I want to be like,
I started a list like back in 2016 or something, and I only ever put like 6 things on there because it was too much work. That's why I never continued it. That's why it was really good when you did yours, because I was like, well, Sam can do all the work then.
But it's just not like the
I spent so much
when you
time
realise
on
like the
that.
whole FAQ was like based off of like that original kind of article that you'd done that like Sarosh then reworked into the FAQ, and then we built upon it a few times, right? There's a few kind of iterations as we added more information in. But that was definitely like one of I think the most productive things that kind of came into the community was that kind of initial article to kind of kickstart the FAQ. And then we've been able to add to it and add videos to it. And it's kind of grown to a point now where I think it's a good resource. And that other, like, even though that other Reddit page, right, was using the FAQ that we'd made.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people are using that now, apparently.
It's a good FAQ.
Yeah, because the FAQ was kickstarted based off. I made an article, a guide to using minoxidil for your beard on Beard Profile, and the FAQ came from that essentially, except it was, more of an FAQ form. Even though I did have like a mini FAQ in that article, but the FAQ was much better, and it was a good idea from Sarosh, I think it's supposed to pronounce. I don't even know, but then we just edited over time and made it a lot better and got all the grammatical mistakes out of it.
Right. Well, now they're going back to the old one, according to basic.
Yeah, but I doubt it though. I mean, they're probably like copying the new one, unless they're too lazy to even edit the information and the old one. Because I'm pretty sure there's a couple of mistakes in there too that are just wrong. I don't remember though.
Right.
Like I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I took a couple things out because they weren't correct.
And the whole reason that FAQ was made in the first place, like the new one on Beard Wiki was made in the first place, is because there was just so much information that we couldn't really fit into a post on Facebook and really couldn't format. It was so much more beneficial to have that on a website where you could link videos and have the videos pop up and format it in a way where people can search through it and find stuff easily.
And it's translated into different languages, as well as like anyone can edit it if they want. They do have to contact me to do it, because it's not an open wiki. Like you can't just go on there like Wikipedia and edit it. It's kind of locked, but it's pretty easy to get permissions to edit it.
It is pretty easy because even I got permission to
and
edit
I like
it.
how
that's how easy it is to get permission, Sam.
Yeah, but I like how when somebody brought it up to basic, like, oh, what are you guys gonna do about the facts? You can't update it anymore because it's something that was on Bryan's website that he was doing. He was like, oh, we're gonna go back to the old one. Before Bryan put it on his own personal page, he was trying to make it out like you were trying to like monopolize your facts
work.
and like trying to
How dare you?
On the site that
like,
loses me money every single month.
as if you were benefiting off of all the, like, you put so much work into that FAQ, and you haven't gotten anything out of it. So I don't understand what his implications were there. Like he's trying to be like, oh, he took it over to become the FAQ.
How dare he pay for the hosting to
all of the,
host a website for information for free for people to read?
And he lets other smart people edit it. Like, Jesus.
What a shill.
As if you were like getting anything out of all of that.
Because that was my entire intention with like the wiki thing. I wanted it to be like Wikipedia, man, like just for beards, with scientifically proven things, or if it's not proven, then at least there's logical reasoning behind the things that we put on there, stuff like that. And it is still that. It's just not many people contribute, which is fine.
Yeah, it was mostly you. You built a majority of that FAQ by yourself. I know I've gone in and I've edited a few things, added a few things.
I know that was really strange.
Yeah, and props to the few people that have translated into their own languages too. It has been translated into I think 3 or 4 languages. I don't think they've edited it to the point where it is now. Like it's, they may be a couple versions behind, but it's still very much usable.
I mean, I think we already touched on it earlier, but yeah, I want to make it pretty clear to the people that are listening that this is going to be more than just a beard podcast. There's going to be things that we talk about that are completely off the topic of beards, and it goes the same for the new Facebook group that we created, Beard Pub, which I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a part of that, or you're aware of it at least. But it wasn't meant to be a copy of the Minox Beard Spot. It was meant to be sort of something that was like an expanded version of that. Like, yeah, there's going to be minoxidil conversations in there. We're happy to answer any questions you guys have about, minoxidil use or whatever, derma rolling, anything like that. But there's going to be things in there that are not related to beards, or not even not related to minoxidil.
And there have been some so far.
Yeah, and that's the same direction we're heading with this podcast. So just want to clarify that in case any of you are like, oh, I'm going to listen to this every day to get beard tips, because there's going to be times where we may not even talk about beards at all.
But also, I think it's probably
an hour without even talking about it.
Thank the members that have actually come and joined the Beard Pub, because already, as quickly as the people were joining, and it did grow quite quickly in the first week. People were sharing straight away, and actually, and that's one of the hardest things I think sometimes with a new community is actually getting people to be the first people to post. But people did come in there and really helped kick those kind of conversations off. It's been really good, I think. Yeah,
and I've noticed that I don't know if it's just because that we're significantly smaller than the Minox Beard Spot, but I've noticed that it has been a lot more positive in the new group than the Minox Beard Spot over the years. There was so much moderation that had to go. We had pre-approvals on, we had to approve posts and all this stuff, because the environment just became so toxic where anytime somebody asked a question, 90% of the comments would be just people they wanted to make other people laugh, I guess. I don't know. They're just trolling and saying stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they have roughly 60,000 members now, and
losing members pretty quickly.
They were losing quite I think they lost 300 or 400 members after that whole sale thing went through, which isn't a high number compared to the total members, but I think it might be a pretty high number compared to the total of active members, because I've noticed that their activity is pretty similar to our group's activity. The number of posts and comments and stuff they've gotten in their group in the last couple of weeks has been about on par with ours, with 100 times less members.
Yeah, so in that regard, it is pretty significant that it was 300 or 400 people that left, on top of the fact that they were banning and removing posts that even talked about the sale. So, hardly anybody, percentage-wise, even knows about it.
The meme as well. The meme that someone put up with, Scar from The Lion King and Basic was one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tried to, I don't know, like I understood people had the need to like vent about the situation just like we did. So I tried to kind of let people do that at first, but eventually it got to the point where everybody was just like, you were seeing a good amount of posts in the new group where it was just people just bashing basic, and it's like, yeah, I get why you're mad, I'm mad too, but you guys need to like move on. And
yeah, it's a bit too much. Like you should really just keep it to the current posts that are already there anyway. Like, because creating new posts about basic, new people come in, they don't know what any of it is about, they just want to see a beard group, and people are complaining about basic and this Minox stuff, and like it's a bit too much.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, yeah, like as well, if anybody like is listening to this and they have any comments or suggestions about this podcast in particular, like or questions, like maybe you have beard questions, just leave comments, and maybe we can like tailor a section for like answering beard type questions. Yeah,
for sure. Don't be afraid to ask, questions. If you have something you need answered and you're not finding anything about it anywhere, I'm sure we're not gonna be mad at some potential content for our podcast.
It'll be helpful, especially because it's called Beard Pub, and even though we won't be all about beards, it would be nice to talk about beards at least a good amount of the time.
Yeah.
Whilst I still grow mine back after shaving it all off.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been considering shaving mine all off, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel like, see, the thing is, we get all these people that comment all the time, like, but have you shaved your beard? Like, no, I haven't. Why would I do that, and why would it matter? Do you think that the hair on my face just stopped growing, and then if I shave it won't ever come back? Like, I have to trim it constantly.
And it would just be me for an hour and a half ranting and raging about the stupid comments I've had about shaving that like literally make me want to pry my eyeballs out with a razor. Like, no, I hate.
Zero logic behind that.
No.
Yeah, there's no logic behind that.
Like, the hair to an arbitrary length,
why do you think
and it's going to somehow magically change how the hair will then grow from henceforth? It's like, oh, if you've trimmed it and it still grows, that's not proof. You have to shave it. It's like, it's just trimming it to a different length.
Yeah.
It has to be cut to a shorter length.
I think some people genuinely believe the hair grows directly out of the skin. Like, there's not a hair, like, this is not part of the follicle, like, underneath. Right? I think that it's just right at the surface and it just appears. That's the only thing I could logically think that they must assume.
Yeah.
Magically grows from the tips or something.
Right. But yeah, I was thinking about shaving it for that purpose, just to be like, you know what? I don't know why you guys think this, but at least here's some proof. I shaved it, it's gone, and now it's growing back. So can you please stop asking me that question? Because it doesn't make any sense. That way I could just link into that video from now. I'm like, here's that. But then, I don't know.
But then, like, you think about it, and like, there's no logic behind the question. So it's like, why do you want to prove something that's illogical? Like, there's no point.
Yeah, and then I used minoxidil because I wanted a beard. Why would I want to shave it off now?
And it takes a while for beards to grow, man. People don't understand. Like, people that can't grow beards seem to think that bearded guys just grow beards suddenly, like within 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, stubble, you'll have stubble, but it takes a long time. At least a minimum of about 3 months to even start seeing your true potential. Like, 3 months for me is where I just start liking my beard. And that's a long time.
Like 3 months. Get comments like, please, for me, can you please shave it off so that you can prove it to me? I'm like, no, I'm not fucking doing this for you. Like, this is my beard. I want to keep my beard. I'm not like, that was one of the things where I think the YouTube started to get to me at one point, where it was like these demands that I have to like do these kind of experiments for the people who are watching. It's like, well, I'll do experiments, but I actually quite like having a beard. So why am I going to shave it off just because you don't believe? It's like, well, I don't really care if you don't believe. Like, you don't have to. Like, I'm just putting the video out there for you to kind of watch, kind of thing. But then I did shave it off and
spent all that time and energy just to not have a beard.
Well, like, that work.
Thanks.
Yeah, and some people don't realize that, like, while some men can grow beards really quickly, there are people, especially in the Minox community, where it takes a long time for their beard to grow. Like, I feel like my beard grows a lot slower than like a lot of the dudes that you see with big natural beards. Because honestly, people be like, oh, I've been doing this for 6 months. I'm like, what the hell? as long as my beard has ever been, and I've grown my beard out for like
sometimes
10 months straight.
And even those people, though, are in the minority. They're definitely not the majority. Even regular bearded guys that don't grow that fast, like, they're about on par, I'd say, with about how fast my beard grows, which is not super fast.
I think mine grows quite slowly. Some people will be like, oh, yeah, this is my beard being grown for 2 weeks. And I'm like, that's what mine looks like after about 4 weeks. So that's good. But now mine actually does grow a bit more evenly
mine for a month.
Now,
like,
which
what
is
the
good
hell?
because I can have like a bit more of like a stubble shape, I realised. But I do miss actually having a beard, mainly because it hid how fat I'd gotten.
Yeah, that shock whenever you like trim way down and you see your fat face.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Jesus,
I looked at it and I just looked like a thumb, like my neck, my head, and I was just like, yeah, I've gotten fat.
That's why I'm cutting, man. That's why I'm getting back to where I used to be. Get that 6-pack, be lean, and have like a non-fat face. Like that's where I need to be at again.
For the first time in my life, I'm starting to like get a little pudgy, and I've noticed lately that my beard looks a little better than usual. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe under this beard my face is getting pudgy and I just don't even know it. So I'm kind of afraid to shave it off and then just have like a double chin going on. I'm like, oh geez.
If anything, like if your face, I mean, I doubt it's gonna make that much of a difference. But if you have a fat face, like genuinely fat, your beard's gonna look worse because it's more the follicles are more spread out, right? But so if you're leaner, like all of it's more dense.
One thing I never get is like,
but if you have a pretty dense beard, it does help.
I always get like critiqued on the fact. I always get comments that are like, I've got a neck beard or something, which I'm like, most people's volumes of their beard probably do come from like their kind of chin and like neck region. Like, but I still have hair on my cheeks. Not like it's just a full neck beard.
Yeah.
It is a bit neck beardy, but it's like most people who have longer beards, like they don't trim all their neck hair off. Like, yeah, it's like
that's where most of their beard comes from.
Your beard is not at all neck beardy. Like I can't really see
that.
I
should shave the cheeks and everything and go full neck beard.
Yeah.
Just
because my beard's not very bushy, but yours, like I saw your pictures on Instagram, and it's looking pretty round there. You're getting a lot of like
I've
volume
got
in your
it's
cheeks.
not. It's the bottom of my like, jaw like curls back upwards. I don't know why it does it. It's like really weird. It gets kind of like curly in one section, like right at the end of the jaw. But I think for me, like my cheeks are a lot better actually. Like, even after I stopped using minoxidil, they seem to over time have gotten a bit better. But I think that overall, like there's still like room for improvement there. Like there's still like little spots where there's not really any hair in it, but they're only like small, so I'm not really that bothered. Like I've still got the shape. For me, it was that I never really had the shape of a beard. I just had like some hairs at the top of my cheek and some on the bottom of my jaw, and then just like big gaps the whole way across my cheek. It just I guess like even now, like even having it shorter at first, it was like shocking to see how fat I'd got. But then like after a while, it was like, oh, actually, like the stubble's, because I'd never really shaved it down for so many years. Seeing the stubble come back through, it was like, actually, my beard's growing a lot better now than it used to do. Like when I'd had cut it kind of short. It's just I want a beard again fully because I miss it. Sad times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Growing mine back
That's
out too. I mean, it's at a decent length at this point, but I still want it to be a little bit bigger.
I was trying to wear a face mask though with a beard.
I'm trying to grow mine out. I was trying to grow my hair out at the time too when I shaved that. I shaved it all off. That was literally my
on camera.
I was trying to grow it out. Like I wanted to get it longer, and I was trying to get some like Viking braids or something in there. I wanted to try some different hair. It's been a while since my hair's been long. I wanted to grow it out, but I chopped it all off, and now I don't really feel like I'm just gonna keep it short.
Yeah, long hair just takes too much time and effort, man.
It does. It takes a long time, and then there's several months you have to go through like these awkward phases where it's not quite long yet, but it's not really short. It just looks really weird.
Yeah, like I prefer when my hair like isn't in the afro stages. It looks fine, but it takes so much work to like kind of like make it look good, especially after I've slept. So like I prefer when my hair was longer, which I've only ever done once in my life, where it starts getting heavy enough to grow downward. And it's just like, but even that just took too much work because of all the knots and
So you could be like me and just have like grey hair. So that's why I just basically cut it all off now, because I'm just going grey at a rapid pace. Which, I'm sure people will blame on someone will blame on minoxidil for whatever reason at some point. I still get it now. Someone the other day commented about me losing my hair. I'm like, dude, I've already put videos up showing me at 18 years old with the same fucking hairline. Like, this has been like following me from the first time I started using it, because I mentioned shedding, and then everyone was like, your hairline. And I'm like, I've looked back at photos of me as a teenager. I'm like, my hairline is basically not changed. Like,
Yeah, but people can somehow see a difference that doesn't exist, but they can't see the difference minoxidil made to your beard.
Really. I'm always massively impressed by.
Like, oh, your hairline's receding. It's like, no, it's not. You can't tell my beard has improved, but you can tell that my hairline is receding when it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
People just see what they want to see, really.
But it's because I shaved my head, right? And then as soon as I shaved my head, everyone was like, it's because he's bald. It's just covered. And it's like, no, I just couldn't be asked to pay for haircuts anymore. And I think someone tried to come at me about that, and they were like, oh, but you can afford Minox. And I broke down how actually it's more expensive to get my hair cut every year than it used to cost me for minoxidil. Like,
oh yeah, it is much more expensive to get haircuts. That's not even a comparison.
Like $17 for like a 3-month supply or something. But getting your hair cut, like I was paying, when I was getting my hair cut at a barbershop, I was paying like $40.
Yeah.
Every time.
I mean, for me, it's more like 25 wherever I go, but still, like, even that's a lot. And that's like every 3 weeks.
It's pretty cheap here in the UK. I probably spend about like £15 for a haircut, which is what, probably like $20? Maybe just over $20?
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, like $22.
That's something you have to do, something you actually have to do forever. You don't have to use minoxidil forever.
Yeah.
It's an investment. You're not investing anything when you cut your hair. You're gonna have to do it again. You're not benefiting from it other than temporarily while your hair looks good. You have to keep doing it over and over again.
Whereas we invested like 2 years worth, which we might not have needed 2 years. At least I might not have needed 2 years to get the beard I have now, maybe like 14, 15 months, but 2 years worth of Minox, and it wasn't that expensive, for a lifetime of having a beard.
Yeah, it definitely never hurt me financially to use minoxidil.
Yeah. Even
though I've never been the most financially stable person.
And if you are hurting that much, then just please don't buy it.
Don't
get your money right.
You used to sometimes get comments like that,
you really
right? You'd have people say like,
on other
I
things.
can only afford to buy like 1 month for like the next 3 months. Is that like, should I do that and start? It's like, there's not really much point buying it if you're not able to be consistent, because you're not really going to see any results that way.
Yeah. Consistency is key. Yes, please be consistent with it.
Right. Oh, there's my voice. But yeah, right. Like, especially if you're hurting that much where you can only afford that much, don't waste, because you're just wasting your money at that point. And obviously you can't afford to waste your money.
Because you'll waste it for like a 1 month supply, then you'll have to stop for several months. Like, nah, you're not going to get a beard that way, man.
Yeah, and then your beard, you didn't get anything out of that month. Yeah. And then anything you did get, it's going to be gone.
Could have bought groceries with that money.
That's the crazy thing as well, though, right? Is trying to always explain to people how long it takes to see results, because there's obviously been the odd notable like examples which are like 6 weeks in and they have a ridiculous amount of new hair growth. But for most people, I think like it tends to be around like the 3 month mark, right? You start to see people really making progress. Maybe a little bit before that for some people. Yeah, maybe a little bit
like
after
3-4 months.
I think there's so many people that just expect it like after a week or after. I've genuinely had people after a few days. They're like, been using this past few days, we're still not seeing anything yet. Is it normal? And it's like, yes, very.
Yeah, I have to tell people all the time that like I'll show them my results. Like I'll show them the comparison of I have this picture that I like to show people all the time where I always trim when I was using minoxidil, well, at least at first, I would always trim it down to an exact length so I could take comparison pictures. I was like 3 millimeters, I think. So I have a picture where I pre-Minox where it was cut down to 3 millimeters, and then I have a picture after a year of Minox where it's also cut down to 3 millimeters, and the difference is pretty dramatic. But I'd like to... where was I going with this? Man. Oh, okay. I remember now. Yeah, so there's a picture that I like to show people where I had my pre-Minox picture where I trimmed my beard down to 3 millimeters to show what I had at the time, and I have a picture that I took after a year of minoxidil, where I trimmed it down to 3 millimeters, and I use that as a comparison picture to show people how much progress I made in that time, like accurately, so that they can see like that there's an actual difference and that it's not just grown longer. And I made a pretty good amount of progress in my first year, but I didn't even notice progress that I was making for the first like 4 or 5 months. It wasn't until I actually went back during the 5th month of me using minoxidil and compared pictures where I was like, oh wow, I've actually made a lot of progress that I didn't even notice. So people who are using it for like 2 months and aren't seeing progress, like they think that means it's the end of the world. But the reality is there are people out there that make like really good progress using minoxidil that didn't see anything for the first
I really
like,
wish
3
that
or 4
I had
months.
like more photos of like before when I started minoxidil actually of like my cheeks, because the very few photos I have are not of particularly great quality, so it's like hard to really show. But I think that like it is obviously people can watch the videos and stuff, but even then I think it took me 4 or 5 episodes before I realized I had to hold my camera like horizontally so I wasn't just like filming vertically like
Yeah,
a long time.
that's going to be something we're going to have to deal with this podcast too, is like as we continue to make more episodes, we're going to obviously be making improvements to the quality, to the formatting and all that. This is this is our first episode, so hopefully people are bearing with us here. Might be a little rough at first, but it'll get better.
That's what happens when you have 3 people that are inexperienced with podcasting. I mean, none of us have done this previously, right? I haven't. So it's like a completely new thing. Plus, I'm actually not much of a podcast person. I don't listen to that many podcasts. I really only listen sometimes, and not even like consistently, to like Joe Rogan's podcast and maybe like some stuff that I see recommended on YouTube. That's about it. Like I don't really watch them or listen to them, and I haven't done them.
Right.
But we'll learn. I mean, that's the process. That's kind of what we were talking about once before when we were talking, is that just getting into it, just doing it, just kind of getting it over with in a sense, rather than just talking about doing it. Like we kept talking about doing a podcast and we just didn't do it.
Oh yeah, like we've had this this podcast topic like in our Discord for, oh my god, let's see if we can go back and see when the first post was made. Back in 2018.
Can we see when
August.
the server was made?
August of 2018. So it's been 2 years since we first thought of doing a podcast, and we just never did it.
2 years.
And there's been people that have brought it up too. They're like, "Oh, you guys should do a podcast."
Yeah, and quite a few.
We just never did it. Well,
So hopefully those people see that we made one and actually enjoy it.
Yep. Hopefully people are sticking in with us. I know this is a pretty long episode. I doubt all of our episodes are going to be this long. We had a pretty specific topic that was pretty expansive that we wanted to discuss in this episode. So this episode's probably going to be a little bit longer than most that we make.
And for those that don't know, which I'm sure won't at first, is that we're going to be cutting these up as well. So this is going to be like the main long podcast, full thing, and we'll just cut it into clips, maybe just a few different clips into different topics that we've talked about.
Yeah, that way people who maybe don't want to listen to like a full 2-hour podcast can just kind of browse our other clips and see if there's any topics that interest them.
And it'll be on the same
maybe
channel as well.
Yeah, and if they maybe they'll check those clips out and they'll be like, "Oh, I want to watch the rest of that episode," and then you'll join us here to listen to all of the nonsense and rambling.
Yeah, exactly. So if you like the clips that we've been doing, like maybe this one will be part of a clip, what we're talking about right now, and then
Our clip section.
check
A
out
clip
the
about
full
clips.
a clip about clips. And then just go ahead and click in the link or in the description, the link in the description for the full podcast.
Right. And if there are like, there's any like artists out there, because I don't know, we don't really have any plans for like. I'm sure we're gonna upload this to YouTube. We don't have any plans right now as far as what we're gonna show, like display for like the video portion of the podcast. So if there's anybody out there that like wants to help us out and make something, like I'd be willing to pay people. Really, if there's any artists out there that could do something cool for us to show.
Yeah. Like a cool little
That'd be cool.
short animated replaying video, like a GIF or something.
Yeah, like even like a one that just loops over and over again, something just to have visually for stuff like YouTube. Definitely be interested in that.
Maybe one day
like,
we'll end up doing cams or something, cameras, but for now it's just going to be purely audio.
Right. Yep. Until we all strike it rich
Or
and we start a new group
$1,000.
for millions of dollars, and gonna have oh my god, we can have a podcast.
Think of all the things we can do with
studio. Yeah. Then that's, you know what? I don't want to jump. I hate to jump back and forth on things, but that's something that kind of bothers me. Is a lot of people that wanted to defend what Basic did. They're like, "Oh, you don't know what he's probably financially struggling. He's trying to just thinking for his family." It's like, dude, do you not see all the posts he makes where he's got like all this fancy expensive stuff? He I think he owns a barber shop right now, and he's selling a bunch of like hair product. He looks like he's doing really good.
He very well could be doing better than all three of us put together. I don't know, but
I don't know why people think that he's like financially struggling and is desperate for money, and that's why he's so. That's not why. He's always been trying to monetize the group in one way or another. That's just something that he's done.
Plus, like, he's a talented person. He does those paintings. He can draw. Like, he's a talented person. He is not struggling. And if he is, like, he has so many options that he can do. Like, just because I don't like what he did doesn't mean that I can't give props to him as a person, because he is very talented.
He is very talented, and he's a very charismatic and like easy to like person too. So it's like, I don't know. There's been times where I've kind of wanted to call him out for some of the stuff that he's done, but I didn't want to because he just seemed like such a genuine, nice guy. And I feel like that's probably what's helping him gain like so much support behind what he did. Is there's people that just like they've kind of fallen for this persona that I don't know if he's created it or what, but he comes off like one of his main things that he pushed in the Menox Beard spot was that we're a brotherhood. I think there's even like a pinned announcement in the group right now where we made a video of all of the admins coming together to be like, we don't care if you're like what your like race is or what your religious beliefs are or any of that stuff. We're all just here to be a brotherhood. And that's like this thing that we made to stop, like, because people, there's always going to be conflict amongst people with different beliefs and all that stuff. We kind of wanted to come and be like, we're a brotherhood, guys. We don't got time for all this conflict. We're just supposed to be here to support each other. That's kind of always been the idea behind the group, is to be like a brotherhood of people that are coming together to support each other and help each other out and to help improve, like, you know, everybody in the group's trying to improve themselves in a way. So we're just there to help people out and support them, give them information.
And
they may not
that
be
did
aware
work.
of.
That worked really well in the beginning, right?
just
Like when you think
there to help
right in the
them.
early part of the group, we had, you know, we even had people like in the group that were like trans people and other people in the group that were probably politically very much against that kind of like identity or whatnot. But people got on regardless because it was always focused around like we leave all of that kind of stuff at the door when we go into the group. And it's all just about supporting each other and helping each other. Even if there's plenty of people who on that group before, I'm sure in real life I would hate as a person. In reality, there are like, but at the same time, like when we're in that group there, I'm there to help the people on that particular topic, right? So it doesn't matter to me whether I disagree with them, like ideologically or whatnot, because that's not why we're there, right? It's just.
Yeah. I mean, if you leave that stuff out of the group, we won't know what you feel, and that's good.
Yeah. But that's back when I was talking about how he, you know, his main thing was always pushing the group as a brotherhood and everybody's brothers and we're there to support each other and be there for each other. That's why I don't understand. A lot of people try to defend what he did and they're like, oh, he was just this hustle. Why I don't blame him for what he did at all. It's like, yeah, I get it. He, you know, it's his group. He can do what he wants to with it. It's his decision to do that. But you have to understand why it makes sense for everybody to be upset, because it wasn't supposed to be a business. It wasn't supposed to be like, it was supposed to be the opposite of that. The whole point was to be a group where we weren't seeking to benefit from it financially and make it a business and all this stuff. And that's exactly what it turned into. And it just kind of contradicted everything that he'd been saying in the past.
Because if it was truly a brotherhood, like he mentioned, like if he's truly struggling with money, he probably could have gotten a similar amount or even much more by just having people donate. If it really needed to come to that, you know, if it's a brotherhood, they're trying to look out for you. Here's a couple bucks from X amount of members that are willing to do it, especially the people that are saying, well, he can hustle, he can do that. I'm sure those people, you know, they would want to donate, right, you guys? So, like, he could have done that. He could have made a similar amount or even much more because it's a group of 60,000 people. So I don't see that it really was a brotherhood for him, and he probably knew that because he could have easily done that and gotten much more money just from the members themselves rather than from a single person that owns a derma roller company.
Right. A derma roller company that doesn't even sell good derma rollers. Man. I don't know if you guys are aware of that.
Probably got to save on all that money they're spending to buy
terms
groups.
of service.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen his products or not, but they're the cheap stuff you can get on AliExpress for a couple dollars, and he's selling it for like $20.
Yeah, and
you can get a real derm roller with real needles for like a quarter of that price.
Yep.
And people are still defending him, like, oh, this guy, he's going to give us a discount because we're members of the group. It's like, yeah, you're getting a discount on something that's already 4 times the normal price. You understand that?
Force some people to give you personal information to join the group so that you can get a discount on his products. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Let me give you my email and my name because that's on Facebook, and you can just email me discounts on stuff.
I didn't ask for that mailing address as well.
Yeah, and he tried to say that. He was trying to say the reason he had the email address was collecting email addresses was to send people like informational emails, and it's just like,
yeah, right.
On what? What you don't even know what you're talking about.
Information on
all the posts you've made so far in the group have been wrong. Like, it's inaccurate.
And how you can put money in his pocket.
Yeah. Like you're gonna, if anybody's gonna be making informational like emails to send out, you're gonna be coming to us, people that have been doing the research for the last 4 years, to create those emails so that you can send them out to those people. And you didn't say anything to us about collecting emails at all prior to doing it. So if your intentions were to if your intentions were to send informational emails out to people, why didn't the admins know anything about that prior to you doing it? Because who's gonna make those emails for you? You don't know what you're talking about, so obviously it's not gonna be you.
Yeah.
And the people who would be the ones doing that don't know anything about it. So obviously that was not your intentions. That's a lie. You're lying. You wanted to send them marketing information about your products.
Why else would you buy the group, right?
That's
like Bryan said earlier.
There's no reason to. Yeah, why would you spend $4,000 on a group if your intentions were not? And he made it clear. He said himself in the group chat that he does expect to generate sales from the group. Mm-hmm. And he referred to the members as customers and then tried to pretend like that was a typo. Oh, I didn't mean to do
customers because they'll cost
crazy. I didn't
money because he's bought a
said
group
customers.
not to
I meant
sell
members.
They're customers. That's what they are. That's just a simple misspelling.
I can't believe he tried to backtrack like that. And Basic did the same thing. Like, Basic was posting a lot of stuff in the group after we were banned. He banned us. And he's... he was posting a lot of things in the group that I could still see because I still had access to the group. And then he would go into another group and just lie straight to my face and be like, no, see, I thought it was crazy when he removed you guys. I don't know what he's doing banning all these people for. I'm like, Basic, come on, dude. I still had an admin account in the group that you didn't know about, and I could see everything you were doing in the admin logs. You were banning people, not that guy. It was you. You removed Bryan's goodbye posts from the group for no reason. You removed all these members that were posting about what happened. It wasn't Frank. Frank was doing it too, yes, but it wasn't just him. It was you as well, Basic.
Well, to clarify, it was a post about me stepping down as admin, not goodbye as in leaving the group. Because he did mention
that's what my post was about too, which was also removed.
Yeah. He mentioned like
after the comments were turned off.
That what did he say again? He was helping people along faster because they said they were going to leave anyway, which we never
he was
did.
like, they said they were leaving anyway, so I just helped them out the door. And it's like, we didn't say we were leaving.
Yeah.
We said we were stepping down as admins. Obviously, if we were leaving, we would have left.
I was literally going to stay in the group and still answer questions. I was still going to help people out because despite the person that now, or the people that now run the group, I still think a lot of the people in the group deserve correct and full information, and a lot of them are still good people. So it's not like I want the group to go to shit. It's just I don't care.
That's one of my main concerns with the sale of the group. Well, it wasn't that he sold the group. Like I mean, that's fucked up or whatever and stuff. But honestly, like the main concern I had with that whole thing going on is that there's going to be just this huge like income of like misinformation and stuff now, especially since they removed the people that were mostly responsible for going in and making sure to correct that misinformation.
Yeah. Now the correct information is getting banned.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe that. That's crazy. That whole group is just gonna... People are like, oh, I don't see what the big deal is. Nothing's changed yet. It's like, actually, a lot has changed. You may just not notice it yet.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff happened behind the scenes that we've seen that other people weren't aware of.
It just takes a little bit of thinking to it to come to those conclusions, and it's just logical to think the way that we're thinking, even with bias. Like even if we were biased about it, just logically think about it and you will come to the same conclusions.
And obviously things like, especially now that we've called them out for what they're doing, you're not gonna see them jumping to start selling people stuff, because then people are gonna realize we were right and they don't want that to happen. So especially now that we've pointed it out to people, be like, hey, this is going on, they're gonna take their time and make sure everything calms down before they get into that. It's probably gonna be a while before they probably would have done it right away if it wasn't for the fact that all this drama was stirred up.
He was talking about how he was going to step away from the community altogether, but he looks as though he's still there doing his thing. So
yeah, he did say, he made a post about it where he was like, I'm going to stick around to help this guy out, but I do believe if he doesn't just straight up leave, he's going to stop being active again like he did before.
Yeah, that's what I figure.
So all those people that are defending him be like, oh, he do what he wants. It's like, yeah, well, he's going to abandon you in like a couple months, but whatever.
Leave you with just one guy named Frank.
The only reason he's sticking around now is to make sure the guy doesn't try to get his money back.
Yeah, exactly. Try not to get that PayPal refund, because I told Basic, because I knew he was going to sell the group from the get-go, from when he first started telling us about it. I told him, if you do this, do it through an escrow company. There's going to be less of a fee like PayPal takes, and you're going to be able to keep the money. Because if Frank does a dispute with PayPal, he can easily get the money back because he's the buyer. PayPal sides with the buyer, and you essentially sold him something that is not sellable. You can't really sell Facebook groups, so there's no proof that you gave him what he paid you for. So he can easily create a dispute and get that money back. Even if you took it out of PayPal and put it into your bank account or whatever, there's a way for them to get you. They will get you.
And that could very well happen too, because as has been pointed out, it's against Facebook's terms of service to buy and sell groups. So there could be a time where Facebook finds out what's going on and they go in and delete that entire group. And then Frank might be like, hey, group doesn't exist anymore. Gonna need my 4K back.
Yeah. And he has a while to be able to dispute that with PayPal as well. And plus the amount of money that it was, they'll look into it. And he won't have any proof of giving Frank anything.
People are like, that's something I see people bring up all the time. Oh, it's his right to do what he wants. Actually, it's not his right to do that. Like, it's his choice to do that.
Yeah.
But it's against Facebook's terms of service. There's nothing. Facebook owns Facebook groups. It's not the person who created them. Facebook's allowing you to create a group on their website, but that doesn't give you any actual, like, you
don't have any power over
claim to the group. It's not yours by law. Like, you don't by law own that group and have the right to sell it. It's not your right. You can sell it, but Facebook can come in and shut it down. and ban you, because they are the ones who decide whether or not you actually have the right to do that, because it's theirs, their property.
Yeah, that's basically what I said to that guy that was just creating a straw man, talking about, well, it's not illegal. You're saying it's against the law. I didn't say anything. I said it was against Facebook's terms of service. Like, Jesus, that's not the law, but it is their responsibility ultimately, and it is on them to do what they want. They can do whatever they want with that group. And if they catch you selling a group, they may very well either shut it down or do something about it. I don't know what they do about it, but they have the right to do whatever they do.
Right. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's just like, I don't know, somebody can commit a crime. Not saying this is a crime, but saying somebody can commit a crime just because they're able to do something doesn't mean that they have the right to do that. Yeah, it's not
their right. It's a choice to do it.
Having the ability to do something is not the same as having the right to do something. He had the ability to sell the group to somebody, but doesn't mean that he has the right to do that.
Yeah, that's why I stopped responding to that guy on Reddit, because he just did not come up with any good argument. Plus, that wasn't the argument to begin with. Like, that's not even how it started. It started off with being that he was wondering why we cared so much. And, who is he to decide how much we're caring right now in the first place? Who's saying I'm really caring? I'm just passing on information.
But also, why would it be bad if you didn't care? Right? That's the like nowadays,
happened.
Like, just actually giving a shit, everyone just expects you're just supposed to brush your shoulders off when someone like fucks you over, right? Like, you have a right to be a bit pissed off about what happened and how it went down. So I don't really get when people are like, well, I don't get why you're so upset. It's like, well, because you're not really looking at it from my perspective. You're looking at it from your perspective, and you're not upset.
Yeah, exactly. And he literally did say something like that, like, well, as a bystander and et cetera, you might just be a little bit too biased about this. Like, well, of course, because I was part of this, and this is what happened to me, not to you. So of course that's why I care about it and you don't.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't even know who we are doesn't realize we've invested thousands of hours of our time to something, and we've put a lot of effort into it. So obviously, to have that suddenly change and have that just basically make it seem like everything we put into it was worthless.
Yeah.
It's obviously gonna be something that we care about.
And the whole shill thing, like the whole reason that I care to bring it up to people is because I don't want to come across as some kind of person that's trying to profit off what's happened. Like, that's not what happened.
And that was our point when we stepped down as admins. It's like we weren't stepping down as admins because we wanted to leave the group. We stepped down as admins because we wanted people to understand that we were not associated with what happened, and we don't want them to think that we were any part of that.
Yeah. Like I've mentioned in a post I made, like, I'm not letting another man's actions reflect on my credibility.
Right. I didn't support
and I
what happened
a long time ago.
I don't want people to think
it
that I
didn't really
did.
matter to me.
So I feel like it was important for us to clarify to people that are upset, because there are people that are upset that it happened, that it wasn't something that we had a part of.
Even me as an outsider,
I don't understand why people think that
even me as an outsider,
weird for us to want to clarify
situation that. Now, like, look to that as like a real shame that that's what became of the group. That's the route that was then ended up going down. Because even though I was no longer kind of part of the group, like, it was still like a good thing that we'd built that kind of community, or that at least I felt like I had some positive impact there previously. But then to see that all of that work that in that time that you've invested, and that you guys continue to invest even after I left, right? Like, but all that time you've invested just to basically get thrown away for such a small amount of money in real terms for something that, as you pointed out, you're not even supposed to sell, like, which is completely against what the whole purpose of the group was. I think what Bryan was saying about credibility is like, it is so accurate. Like, we've tried for so long to build that credibility, and then for that just to be turned around now and be, now we're going to start selling you shit. So it's a bit shit.
Yeah, and there's probably still going to be the way that people seem to look over. So, like, there's been times where we've made videos about things, like I've made maybe 3 videos about derma rolling, and there are still people that come to me and ask me questions about derma rolling in my other videos comments. So what I'm saying is like things can get overlooked. People may not even see that we dissociated ourselves from all of that, and they might still think that we had something to do with that. So people are going to come into our comments now because we've been promoting the Minox Beard Spa for such a long time. People might come in, see that we were promoting it 2 years ago, and be like, "Oh, I just joined that group, and the guy in there was trying to sell me all sorts of stuff. You guys are a bunch of like shills and scammers. I don't know. Nobody joined this group and don't believe this guy because he's just in it for the money."
Yeah.
Like even now that we've dissociated ourselves from that, I feel like there's still the real
I'm just looking
possibility
forward
people
to
are
the
going to come
movie
in and think that we
adaptation,
had
to be
something
honest
to do
with
with
you.
that.
Like, it's going to be like Facebook, like the social network.
Yeah.
The Minox Beard Spa.
The Minox Beard
Guys, I've been thinking about selling the
Minox
group.
Beard Spa
And
movie
Starring
starring
Sergio
Keanu
Ramos
Reeves.
as Sam.
part of some people's argument is that it doesn't affect our personal life either, but in a way it kind of does. Like if you lose your reputation is big in life. Even online, like yes, online there is a reputation. You do have a reputation whether you're outside, you're stepping outside, or you're online, because online does matter. We can see that with anything, with politics. It matters online. So like if people see you in a certain way and then you go on to do some business venture and they have a bad taste in their mouth because they thought that you did something shady before, that can affect you. That's your life. So us going around social media and just telling people, hey, this is what happened, we're not part of it and we don't want anything to do with it, that is not being sensitive about it. It's just telling people what's up and kind of like covering our asses, really, just so it doesn't affect us.
Right, because like I said, we've invested thousands of hours into that group, so obviously it's going to be something that impacted our lives pretty dramatically. Like it took up a pretty good amount of our time.
Yeah, it's like a part-time job, really, like kind of almost a full-time job, really. But
yeah, it's like a second full-time job, honestly. Yeah. But like imagine it's just like anything, like a relationship or a job, something that takes up a lot of your time every day for a long period of time. If something suddenly happens to where that's changed dramatically or it goes away, it's going to impact you in some way. It's not going to just be like, oh, that's gone now, whatever, going to keep on going. It's like, no, this thing that I invested so much time and energy into every day suddenly,
especially when you've made a lot of
gone, and now
you made like a lot of genuine connections.
There goes half my time
in those groups as well, right? Like, so obviously
and I'm glad a lot of them came over and
think
migrated over to our new group. I see a lot of like Minox influencers and like big
and it's nice to see. It's nice to see those kinds of
over.
people again, and I think that.
Really happy to see that.
Sometimes that part of the community, that ability to kind of make connections with people, is always going to be hampered if that group is then also a place where you're just constantly getting sold at, right? How do you ever know if you can trust the people there, or if they're just also there to like start selling their products and stuff? Because that's one thing we were always quite strict on before, right? Like,
and even with the group that we have, the new group being only like a week old, we have already had at least one situation like that, where a guy who had some pretty questionable intentions was really interested in us buying the old group back. He kept every comment he made. I don't know if you saw.
The guy was out there restarting hashtags. And shit,
I'm not going to say his name, but
going like no. Billboards, like.
But what happened was before the Minox Beard Spa was actually sold, like, so Frank Choi, the new owner of the Minox Beard Spa, he reached out to me back in June. I think it was like June 18th or something like that. Might have been earlier. Maybe the 8th or something. I don't know. But he reached out to me asking me if I was the owner of the group, and I was like, no, I'm not. Basic Ali's the owner of the group. He's the one who created it. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I was just asking because I'm interested in buying the group. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't think Basic's really going to be interested. And that honestly kind of goes against the whole like idea behind the group, which is like supposed to be a brotherhood. So I don't think he would do that. And I apparently gave him too much credit. But there was another guy that reached out to me like a week before the group actually got sold. And I knew right away what his intentions were, because his message was almost exactly the same as Frank Choi's when he reached out to me back in June, asking me if I was the owner of the group. And I ignored him because I knew that's what he was going to ask. is to buy the group. So I just ignored him. And then he ended up joining the new group, and he actually removed his message. But I hadn't accepted it. I viewed it, but I didn't accept it. So to him, it was still unread. So he was able to remove it for both of us. And I was like, bro, I saw your message before you removed it.
Yeah.
It's very suspicious that you sent me that message in the first place. And it's even more suspicious that you deleted it immediately after the group got sold, because you realized, obviously, there was this huge outrage over the group being sold. And now you're like, oh,
He apparently
shit.
heard it was already
I tried to
going
buy.
down.
I
He
tried to
somehow
buy the
knew,
group.
even though nobody knew, like other than you guys. Like,
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense. Oh, I'm in IT, so I was able to. I followed some patterns. There was no patterns. Nothing changed.
There was literally nothing to show.
There was no
that it
hint
would be
to
sold.
anybody. Yeah, there was no hint that the group was getting sold. Like, the only people that knew were the admins and Basic, and there's, I don't know, but he kept trying to comment and be like, oh, you guys should just buy the group back. I'll help out. I'll give you some money. And it's like, yeah, you're trying to give us money because you're hoping that if we buy the group back, we'll let you market your whatever product you're selling because you made a contribution to us. And that's
Plus, to be honest with you,
not
like,
down
I
for
don't
that,
really
dude.
want
It's
to
not what we're here
spend
for.
thousands
Basically
of pounds
be
of my own
in
money
the same spot as
on buying a
before.
Facebook group, if I'm being honest. Like,
Yeah. Plus, it's against the groups. It's against Facebook's terms of service. So what if we did do that and then they deleted the group, and there goes everything. Like, it's all gone now. But yeah, like you said, like, I don't want to spend thousands of dollars buying the group back when, for one, we've already gotten most of the active members back, like, over into our new group, and the people that remained, a lot of them are pretty toxic. I don't want to buy those people back. There are people that have stayed that are obviously really good, genuine people, and hopefully they do see one day that what happened wasn't a good thing, and they're welcome over to our new group if they see that. But there are a lot of people over there that are I don't want to go back into that group having to spend thousands of dollars on it just to go back and have people like, oh, fuck you guys were against the group. It's like,
Plus the name just always sucked. The Minox beard.
I feel like it's
never
better
liked
to
it.
it's better to just start out fresh and get, if people want to come over, they can come over. But yeah, no, I don't have any intentions. Even if he were to offer us, but hey, man, this isn't really going too well. Do you want to buy the group back? I'm gonna be like, nah, you can have that. That is your thing.
$10.
We got our own new thing, and we're gonna stick to. But no, I don't know. It's not about the numbers. I don't care about the numbers. I'm there to care about the people.
It's about the people, the quality, the discussions, and that group has been like kind of, I wouldn't say bad, but it has been going downhill a little bit in the sense that a lot of the questions were just repeat questions, and because we were getting a little bit more inactive, like, people were just like ridiculing each other over asking the same questions.
Yeah, there was a lot of toxicity.
Yeah, and it's hard to clean that shit up. Like, it's like, it's too much. Let's just start over.
Yeah, it really is.
Start clean.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover. Anything?
Well, I mean, we should probably at least end on a better note than talking about the old group.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Like how now we have the new one, and it's been going pretty well. It's like we have just about 1,000 members almost, right? And it's been only about a week, a little bit over a week. So it's been growing pretty well. Pretty good discussions. Like it's also like, it actually does seem like some people are being like pretty tight with each other, like tight knit, and like just giving each other advice over like things like like hair stuff, style, things like that.
Yeah, like I've seen a lot of comments, or not comments. I'm sorry. I've seen a lot of posts that in the other group would have been met with like a lot of hate and toxicity and stuff, but then you see that same stuff getting posted in the new group, and people are I'm actually going into the comments expecting to see people being like, oh, you're an idiot, read the facts, but there's not really any of that. Everybody's just being really cool and answering questions and stuff.
Very chill.
Yeah.
And hopefully that continues. I mean, we'll as admins of the group, we'll of course try to keep that culture going, have it be a lot like it is now. Hopefully get more like just beard related topics as well. I mean, there's a lot of beard related topics, of course, but I mean like specific things. Like I'd like to see some discussions, and maybe I'll make them myself, but discussions like beard styles, like what your favorites are, things like that.
Yeah. And, it's a group of bearded men, and something that goes along with bearded men a lot of times is like being manly and rugged and all that stuff. So it'd be cool to see a lot of conversation about like cool things I'm interested in. Like, I know you like leather boots and stuff.
Yeah,
like
all kinds of leather
Red
things,
Wings.
man. Leather working would be awesome.
Oh yeah, I spent so many hours just watching like blacksmithing videos, honestly, on YouTube. I don't know why. I would never ever done it, but I'll literally watch like somebody make a sword or something for like an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's interesting. Just like I watch cobblers resole boots. Like it sounds kind of boring maybe, but for me, it's like, I just really like it. It's really enjoyable learning like all the parts of a boot.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
And I want people to be able to share posts about stuff that they like that. Like if somebody's super into like leather boots or whatever, feel free to post stuff like that in the group. I want to see your hobbies, the stuff you're into.
Yeah, a wide range of topics would be very nice, because everybody has different hobbies and different interests. And also some people just don't know about certain things that they might actually get interested in later on. So, kind of like a learning tool in a sense.
Right. Like not to bring it up a lot, but leather boots, for example. Like I didn't really have any interest in it until me and you became friends, and you're always like showing stuff about like all your Red Wings and all that stuff. I'm like, man, that's really cool, man. I kind of want some Red Wings now.
Yeah, like I was never into them until several years ago. Like before then, I used to only wear like sneakers and stuff like that. And now it's like it's all boots, man. Like, yep, love me some boots. Charles actually considering doing like maybe like reviews of the ones that I have on my channel or something, but
I mean, you got a lot of
well, you finish your car payment, so you could always save a couple months,
invest a car payment towards
or just
that's how much they
just
are.
Save up for a few months instead, so it's not all at one time.
Yep. Could probably get a nice pair for the amount that I used to pay every month for my car before I paid it off.
Cars as well. I'm sure that will be a topic that's brought up in the group.
Dude, I love car. Man, I miss my Mustang. That was some good times.
Yeah, I bet.
Kind of wish I still had it. Maybe I'll get another one, but right now I can
just sell the group.
Just sell the group. Back into a new car payment.
Yeah, no,
not gonna.
Buy the car.
just sell the group. Yeah.
So you can buy a Mustang with 180,000 miles on it.
Yeah, right. I think that's how much my Mustang had on it.
Shit.
Before I blew it up.
I have some work to do on mine. The leather is falling off the door, the second door now too. It's annoying.
Damn.
Gotta like scrape the backside of it and scrape the door off, because it's like this weird foamy type stuff that Ford put. And like it's known to do that. It's known to fall off. And I guess after now the car is like 14 years old, I guess it's fine, but still very annoying that it does that. Gotta use some like Gorilla Glue or something. Or I do have some Leathercraft cement I could use too.
What about you, Adam? You sound pretty quiet over there. You got any?
I have spent most of this year reading, which is
you paint
first for me. So I'm currently set a goal for this year to eat. I
know.
I know you're all like rugged and manly. We got leather. We got shoes. We got rich soul. And I'm like, I've read a few books.
Cars.
I've read 47 books this year, which is I was going for 52 to do one a week. So it's going pretty well.
I think that's
it's
definitely more books I've read.
Like I've broadened my horizons a bit.
That's probably about as many.
I think it's because I've always wanted to read more and then just haven't. And then I tend to like to read non-fiction, and a lot of the time the problem with non-fiction books is they tend to get a bit waffly in the middle, where it's just like, oh, this is rambling now for the next 100 and something pages. Yeah, I read a really shit book the other day there was like one of those books that's like 230 pages long and the font's so big that it's like, right, you know this is going to be bad. And it's this like self-help book that's like about stopping self-sabotage. And it's basically just like there's 3 saboteurs. There's the things you think about yourself, the things you think about other people, and the things you think about life. And ultimately concluded you can't change any of those things. So, yeah. I was just like, this is a great book. And then it was like, yeah, you just don't. If you're feeling sad, just be happy instead. It's like great advice. That's, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was written in one of those tones. Do you know those books that now like to write in that like millennial tone? Like when you're quaffing your soy latte with a side twist of blah blah blah, and it's just like, or like when you're eating your orange encrusted brownie, and it's like, why do you need to write like a prick? Don't just. No one's doing that.
Yeah.
And I assume I have prickish tastes like that.
Yeah, it's just unnecessary. But yeah, so I've become just a nerd this past year. I've probably always been one, but yeah.
I mean, I think we're all kind of nerds in a way. Like, I mean, we sit here reading clinical trials and shit. So, you know, like, I don't think reading books is inherently a nerdy thing to do. It's just a thing that smart people do. Not necessarily that there aren't smart people that don't read books, because I don't read books, but I do read a lot of factual things online, like things that are either source or just pure fact, you know, that I don't really need to read books to learn, I guess. But
right.
I mean, I think all of us are kind of nerds in a sense. It's just we express our
like when I explain
nerdisms
to
in different
people
ways.
about like, they're like, how did you find out about this minoxidil stuff? And I was like, so I was just researching about how to grow like a beard. And they're like, why were you researching that? And I'm like, just thought it was a novel, like just did a Google search, like had a little look on YouTube, like.
Yeah.
I over-research everything that I'm interested in. Everything.
Yeah, I do that too. It'll be stupid things. Well, I say stupid, but I don't know. It'll be small things like a game that I'm playing. And just be like, man, I want to look into the lore of this, and I'll just spend like hours reading like lore on stuff.
Yeah, get really into it. Which I don't think is really a bad thing, really.
Whereas, you know, I just buy video games and don't play them.
Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised that you bought
I didn't
in the first place, and then you never played it with us.
Yeah, me too.
It's on my computer. But
man, gotta play with us. Maybe we can do that next time we do a podcast. We can just be podcasting while we're playing.
We end up doing Let's Plays and shit.
Yeah, the podcast has become a Let's Play. Like, what? How did that happen?
The beer pub is now the gaming pub.
It all started 4 years ago, and I looked up how to grow a beard. What?
Fantastic.
Now I play Minecraft for 80 hours a week for money. Like, what the hell?
That's not a bad life. I mean, I don't play Minecraft, but if I could make, you know, money playing it, I probably would. Because I like video games. And, you know, I don't want to play Minecraft because pretty much what you said, I think it was last night, like, because I'm afraid that I would like it. I probably would.
Probably would like it.
That's why I'm like, nah, I'm not going to play that.
I mean, me and Mike were talking about, we're like, how does he not, he likes Terraria. It's like the same thing, but not 2D.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, there are certain things like because look at me with Fallout 76. Like I invested a lot of time into that game, man. I have I have hundreds of hours in that game already, and we only started playing that like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's like
I've spent a lot of money on it. Oh god.
Luckily, I've only spent like maybe $10 over what a new game would be, so like $70, and I don't really want to spend more than that.
Yeah, I've spent a lot. I don't know how much, but I don't know why I keep doing that. I have a problem when it comes to cosmetics. Like when we played that one game, I forgot what it was called, but we played that one game and it was literally just about basically like cosmetics, but it was pretending like it was about killing animals. Or not animals, but like monsters. Yeah, killing animals. But you know that game where we just murder animals? That was a good game.
Yeah,
No, but,
I do that with MMOs.
it was-
Man. I just spend so much for cosmetics.
But yeah, it was about like killing these big monsters or something, and it was like they
right.
try to sell you all these cosmetics, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm buying all.
I
this
didn't even know
stuff.
you bought that or bought
Oh,
cosmetics.
I bought so much. I bought a few things in that, and that was such a small. We only played that game for like a day.
Yeah, what was
I
it? It was
probably
kind of
spent-
like a Monster Hunter game. I don't remember what the
Yeah, I
title
don't
was.
remember what it was called.
We don't even remember.
Yeah, I'm a
man.
sucker.
Jesus.
If there's microtransactions, you can bet I'm probably gonna spend some money.
Yeah,
I'm really bad with my money.
I've been better with that lately with microtransactions, but I still tend to get into it. That's why I'm looking forward to Ashes of Creation. They will have a cosmetic cash shop, of course, but I just feel like it will be one of those games where I don't put too much money into because I've been a lot better with not spending money on cosmetics these days. Because before I spent hundreds of dollars on MMOs, but now I'm actually pretty good at not doing that.
Right. Well, anything else you guys want to talk about? You think it's necessary to say or important for people to hear?
2.5 hours is
I agree.
time to wrap up.
Assuming we don't cut it down to like 2 hours.
Yeah, well,
But,
yeah. I mean, we'll probably cut a couple things out, but I'm sure it'll be still pretty lengthy in general.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we really ever confirmed it, but I don't know how often you guys wanted to do one of these, but I think I'm going to do it every couple of weeks, like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, so I guess you guys can expect a new episode from us every 2 weeks. It might be times where we don't upload, might have something going on, so don't hold us to that, but we're going to try for every 2 weeks. So if you guys have liked, listening to us ramble on about stuff for the last 2 or so hours,
Give it a
come
thumbs
check us
up.
out.
Yeah. Smash that like button.
Smash that like
And share it with people. But I legitimately mean that. Like, share it with people if
Ring
you think
the
they
bell.
like it. Other Minox users or non-Minox users.
Yep.
Yeah, ring that bell.
And we all have our own channels and stuff that you guys can check out if this isn't the only. There's plenty of other content for you guys to check out if you're not familiar.
Yeah, we'll link
with our
those down
channels.
in the description as well, our other channels.
I do plan on making more videos for and it's been a while. I've been inactive for quite a while. I plan on making some more videos soon. I think
It was actually nice.
I'm hoping I will.
Obviously not under the
I know me.
circumstances, but it was nice to actually upload the other day because I'd been so long wanting to actually make a video. I just hadn't had a reason, and that was obviously like a decent reason to have to do a video. But just finding the time's been difficult. But I'm definitely looking forward to trying to get back into it a bit more over the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was nice. Change is refreshing sometimes. It's just unfortunate that the change had to be for such a negative reason.
Yeah, but at least it kind of allowed a positive thing to come from it. New group, new channel, essentially, podcast.
New podcast. Finally, a real reason for us to get this podcast going because it's been so long. We have
Time zones.
been planning
man.
this thing.
These
It
time
just never
zones are
really
the
got
hardest
started,
thing.
and it just kind of gave us a kick.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
know.
Because it's late for you right
damn.
now. It's only 7:30 for me.
It's
9:26.
2:26.
here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
7 hours.
Yeah, probably a good time. Oh, we just hit 2:30. 2 hours and 30 minutes.
All right.
Exactly. I guess it's a good time to wrap things up.
Indeed it is.
So, if
Bye.
you guys have any final words?
Stay bearded.
All
Or
right.
get bearded if you
Replace
don't have
that.
one.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. Stay tuned for future episodes where we will discuss other random various things, not necessarily beard related. And see you guys later.
Peace out.